This is the first quarter meeting of the board of directors for the Society for Creative Anachronism. I'd like to welcome you all to the meeting, especially for our members here in attendance with us, but also for all of our attendees virtually, getting to see your society and your society officers and directors working on your behalf to administer the organization and make sure that it continues to function smoothly and make sure that the society prospers. Without further ado, we will start the meeting, and then we'll start with a round of introductions. To that end, if there's a director minded to do so, the floor would be open to for motions to start the meeting. Director Baker.
Mr. Chairman, I move we open this April 12th, 2025 meeting of the board for the Society for Creative Anachronism.
There's a motion from Director Bainter, and I'm sorry, Chef, but I think Director Cap beat you to the punch. That is a second, as I said, for Director House. Is there discussion on this motion? There being none, we will move to voting. Directors, please signify by hand. Any opposed? With 6 directors in favor and none opposed, the motion carries and the meeting is open. Director Baker.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the agenda as presented and take agenda items out of order as may be necessary.
There's a motion from Director Baker, and this time Director Shepard was quick on the draw. So that is a second from him. Is there a discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? And with 6 directors in favor, none opposed, that motion carries, and the vote, and we will take items out of order as needed. And thus, the motion, the meeting is open. Before we start, I would like to, as we frequently do, I would like to thank our ASL interpreters for their time and attention in helping us reach more of our membership. Our current interpreter is Malden, but I'm sure that they will be other through the as we go through the meeting, as that gets tiring. As we go through, this is going to be a long meeting, but I do want to say thank you up front for their input. With that, we will start with your. I actually would. I'll start with our some of our folks who are attending virtually, so that I get hit in the head a lot. So I want to make sure that I don't miss anyone. And I'll start with those because otherwise I may miss folks, and I don't want to do that. So I'll go across the what I can see here. Louise.
Hello, I am Louise Ducre. I am your Vice President for Corporate Operations out here in California, and occasionally a giant floating head.
Megan, she's there.
Hello, all. I'm Megan O'Shea. I'm known in the society as Mistress Sumaya Al-Ghazaya. I am currently the Ombudsman for Amstior, Artemisia, Meridians, North Shield, Arts and Sciences and Publications, and I'm currently in seat B. And if you see my dogs wandering behind me, I have Byron and Shelley here with me for support.
Hello, I am Nicholas Milano. I'm the Society Web Minister, and I hail from the Kingdom of Meridians.
Hello, I am Carolyn Richardson. I am the Corporate Treasurer, and I guess I need to change my name on here. I am known as Baroness Tesheba of Green Lake, and I currently live in the Kingdom of Kaid in Southern California.
Currently Michelle.
Hi, I'm Amethyst de La Fontaine in North Shield, and I'm Minister of Youth.
Thank you very much. Uni,
Good evening. I am Unni Leino, the Society Herald, or in this society, Birgitta Lulli, Laurel Queen of Arms, from Helsinki, Finland, or northeastern Drachenwald.
thank you. Andrew Harness,
Hi, everybody. I'm Andrew Harness from Callantyr, known as Otter Surtson, and I am your Society Chatelaine.
sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bridget Costello. I am the Corporate Communications Officer, and I am speaking to you this morning from the eastern island of the Kingdom of Loch in Canberra, Australia.
We'll now proceed with the attending here in person. I am right-handed, so for no other particular reason than that, I'm going to start from my right to left.
I'm Travis Shank. I am the archivist for the society, and I am from here in Artemisia. We are super happy to have all of you join us here in Barony of Loch Salann. I am from a little farther south in the Shire of Arrows Flight, but it's nice to be up here too as well. And we hope that the air is not too thin and it's not too dry for you all as well.
Liz,
Hello, I am Liz Schrader. In the SCA, I'm known as Elisette Indirmata, and I am from the Kingdom of Callantyr, and I am the Emergency Deputy to the Society Seneschal.
Hi, everybody. I am Stacy Hall. I am known in the society as Gwendolyn Nahalyanen. I don't expect anybody to remember that. Call me Gwen. I have the privilege of being your society seneschal, and I hail from the Kingdom of Meridius.
Hello, I'm Kim Poor. I am from the Kingdom of the Outlands. My SCA name is Ekaterina Krabovna, and I'm Director-elect for CID.
Hi, I'm June Stoyer. I'm Director for CD, the Ombudsman for Avakal, Drachenwald, Eldemir, and Lookout. In the society, I'm Greta Ridari. Very pleased to be here. Thank you.
I'm Leslie Luther in the SCA. I am Kate Alda Baywood from the Barony of Gradish in the Kingdom of Glenavon, and I am the Executive Assistant. Welcome, Calendar.
hi, my name is Mark Falcon. I currently have the honor of serving as the chair of the board in the society. My name is Martin Lochner, and I hail from the Kingdom of Tricaris.
Hi, I'm KT Shepard. You'll hear everyone here call me Shep several times. In the SCA, I'm Ulrich von Brandenburg. I'm also from the Kingdom of Meridies, Huntsville, Alabama. I'm the vice chairman of the board.
Hi, my name is Krista Cass. I'm the Director for CA and the Ombudsman for Atlantia, Middle, Aden Belts, and Board Recruiting. In the SCA, my name is Bernie DeGaleri, and I hail from the West Kingdom.
Hi, I'm Pug Boehner. I'm from the Kingdom of Onsteora. In the SCA, I'm Caleb Gervais, but most people just call me Pug. I'm Director for CE. I'm not going to bother listing my ombudsperson positions because I exit today. They'll all shuffle at the end of the meeting.
I'm Jonathan Foster. I'm the Director for CC. I'm the Ombudsman for the Outlands. Callantyr, the Vice President of Corporate IT, the Society Web Minister, and Society Chatelaine. I hail from the Kingdom of North Shield.
Hello, I'm Erin Potter-Teen. I am the Society Exchequer. In society, I'm known as Catalina Vanya, and I hail from the Middle Kingdom from North Central Ohio.
I'm Val Bam. I'm the SCA president, and in the SCA, I am Baldwin de Lafayette, and I'm from the Barony of the Steppes in Onsteora.
I'm Melissa Minzer, known in the SCA as Arabella de Siena from the Outlands, and I am your society official.
I'm Warren Chaps. I'm your Deputy Society Marshal for Armed Combat for TAM, and your Experimental Deputy for Harness Strengthen. In the SCA, I'm William Hawk of Effingham, and I actually help from University.
Since there's a manageable number, let's have some introductions from the audience. Tell us who you are.
Start with you. Yeah. Oh, start here. I like the hat. We're gonna start with you. I'll start with you. I like the hat. Oh, me? I'm Tom Clayton. I'm Duke Floki. I'm the Baron of Loch Salann.
Well, my name's Mandy, and I am Mistress of Bliss for South.
My name is Dan Watson, Society on Those Bartholomew High Tower. I know many people on the board. It's really lovely to see all of you here, and I'm really glad and happy that you've come to Salt Lake City to have your board meeting. Thank you very much.
I am Olivia Smith. In the society, I am the current Queen of Artemisia. Thank you, Susie. Thank you. And in the SCA, I still go by Olivia. So,
My name is Hannah Leach. I'm a less than a year member, and so my not yet official name is Griselda.
welcome.
I am the Honorable Lady Jerusha Alala, coming from Chief from Caid. I'm also known as the Virtual Herald, and I am currently live blogging on my Discord server.
Nice. Well, with introductions, executed, let's get about the business of the SCA. Leslie, I believe we have reached your portion of the.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would request that you approve the January 26th, 2025 quarterly meeting minutes, the January 28th, 2025 special meeting minutes, the February 20th, 2025 special meeting minutes, February 24th, 2025 conference call minutes, and the March 24th, 2025 conference call minutes.
I will note for the audience that those minutes were distributed to the board ahead of time, and we've all had an opportunity to review them. With that statement made, I will open the floor for the directors. Are there any questions, requests for clarification, or notations of error or omission to the executive assistant? Then by consensus and without objection, the board approves the minutes as presented. I believe that brings us to item 3, during business status changes. Stacey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have status changes requiring board action. Item number 1 is a requested dissolution of 2 shires in California. I understand that these have to be done as separate motions. I'm going to butcher the name. I'll apologize in advance. Vacaville and Thistletor in Yuba and Sutter counties, respectively, in California, the West Kingdom, have requested dissolution with the approval of their kingdom seneschal. And after a polling was done for both groups, as well as the barony they would like to combine with, they would like to become part of the barony of Rivenoak after thoughtful consideration, following our procedures and polling and taking into consideration the thoughts of all 3 members of those populaces, as well as conversations with the baron and the baronage in Rivenoak. The shires wish to dissolve and officially become part of Rivenoak to the mutual benefit of the memberships in the area. Mr. Chairman, I would request the board dissolve those 2 shires.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we regretfully accept the dissolution of the Shire of Walkersville in Yuba County, California, as presented by the Society Seneschal, but be happy that they're combining with their local barony.
For clarification, can I take the part with the happiness as commentary?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Glad they're not going away.
Me too. Just clarifying for the minutes. That is a motion from Director Shepherd and a second from Director Capps. Is there further discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries. Shepherd.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the dissolution of the Shire of Thistledore, Sutter County, California, the Kingdom of the West, as presented by the Society Seneschal, with the commentary of both regrets and happiness.
That is a motion from Director Shepherd and a second from Director Painter. So let's take that on that one. Is there a discussion on this motion? Being none, we'll move to voting. If you're in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Are there any opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries. I so rarely get to use the gavel with our virtual meetings. I keep forgetting to have one now. You've got any for that. That's okay. And I believe there's the
Sadly, Mr. Chair, there is another group that is dissolving at the request of the Kingdom of Seneschal of Athol, the Shire of Bitter End in Red Deer, Alberta.
oh, before we get to that, with the 2 groups that were just with the dissolutions, if I remember correctly, it was their desire to be. Am I correct in saying that requires no board action? We don't need to take note of that. Okay.
Because they had not yet joined, they had to dissolve before they could turn those.
Make sure. Thank you.
And again, with regret, the Shire of Bitter End and Athol has been in abeyance for more than 2 years. The Kingdom of Seneschal of Athol is requesting dissolution after speaking with the one remaining member that she could get in touch with. Bitter End is a very small shire, very rural area that lost most of its membership to pandemic, people moving away, finding jobs in other places, and there is no one willing there to hold office that's left. Mr. Chairman, I would request dissolution of this shire.
There's a request from the Society Seneschal and
Mr. Chairperson, I move that we grant the dissolution of Shire of Bitter End and the Kingdom of Alcohol as requested by the Society Seneschal.
a motion from Director Stoyer. Is there a second? Okay, I was looking the wrong way, so I don't know who was first.
Jonathan.
Director Foster has the second. Is there discussion on this motion? But being none, we'll move to voting. Director, please signify by. Any opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I have a status change to take note. So we'll try to end this on a happy note.
I like that.
The incipient College of Arts Collis, which is West Liberty University of West Liberty, West Virginia, has moved to full college status and was announced by the Royal Majesty's Ethelmar during the report at Dawn Party on March 30th.
Excellent. By consensus, the board happily takes note of that status change. This will bring us to item 3C. This is the quarterly meeting schedule. Louise.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So our quarterly meeting schedule for the rest of the year is as follows. Our next quarterly board meeting will be on Sunday, July 13th. This will again be a virtual meeting. And the last quarter meeting is tentatively planned to be another hybrid meeting in St. Louis, Missouri, USA, on Saturday, October 18th. Shall I continue?
Please.
All right. For the rest of this section, invited guests to meetings will be all corporate officers, and our conference call schedule. Those are the meetings for those of you just tuning in that happen each month between our quarterlies. The next one is Tuesday, May 27th, followed by the June meeting, Monday, June 23rd.
Right. Consensus of that objection, the board takes note. And thank you, Louise.
Thank you, and I'll stay on camera for the next one, I think, for bank account authorizations.
Please.
Those are mostly up to date. We've had a few that have come in this week that I haven't gotten to for obvious reasons. I would like to thank Aaron, our new exchequer, who's sitting right there, for jumping in and working with our bank account authorization system, which we have been working on, Bonnie as well, to make this an easier process for everybody, as the banks have been making it less easy. And I believe it is working very well. So thanks, Aaron. And that's it for me.
Thanks again, Louise. Item E, warrant.
All warrants that I have received so far have been executed. And delivered to their respective officers, except for one, which I still need to get to Aaron. We have spoken about it. It's been executed, it just hasn't been forwarded.
And by consensus, the board takes note of that as well. This will bring us to item F, ongoing projects. Under F, item 1 is board recruiting. Director Helms.
Currently, we do have members that have been nominated for the board of directors, but it is at a very low number for us, which is unusual and a little sad. This is actually one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in the SCA. So I encourage everyone to nominate those folks that you feel would be worthy of serving on the board. We're always looking for mundane skills such as project management, legal expertise, human resources, financial skills, social media, things like that. So I absolutely encourage you to nominate folks or yourself. You can self-nominate, you can anonymously nominate. Additionally, we do have the list of nominees posted on our website under the board of directors page, and I highly encourage everybody, if you know somebody on that list and have commentary, please send that commentary in so we can get the populace's opinion on our folks. So thank you.
And thank you very much, Director Cox. I would, yes.
Okay, as of this point, we have 26 nominees from 13 kingdoms. We show 2 from Evermar, 3 from Antir, 1 from Anstiora, 5 from Atlantia, 1 from Haiti, 1 from Calantir, 2 from the East, 3 from Glenavon, 1 from Locha, 2 from Meridies, excuse me, 3 from the Middle. Now, one of those just came in this week, so I don't know that it's made it to the website yet, but if not, it'll be there this week. 1 from the Outlands, 2 from Trineris, and 1 from the West. Now, 3 of those are actually due to come off. I'm waiting for verification that the individuals no longer want to be on the list. We have another 4 coming off at the end of this month. So we really need nominees.
I will reiterate what Chris has already said. And I imagine Dan Bart would probably say some of the same things. This is my second term on the board. First time was a decade ago. It is a challenging job within the SCA. There's no question of that. I wouldn't want to sugarcoat that to anyone. But the impact that you can have on the SCA is significant, and it is rewarding in a way that is difficult to articulate and different than anything else, even within the realm of offices held within the SCA. Certainly, you know, anecdotally, you get to see the sausage getting made in a way that few get to do. But you also get to influence the direction that the SCA is going and how the services and how the game is going to be played for you and all of your friends for years to come by the decisions that you make on behalf of the SCA. If you know people who you think you know, can be good at doing that, who you think would be good stewards of, you know, your experience in the SCA, or if you think you can be a good steward of your experience and other people's experience in the SCA, then I would strongly encourage you to nominate yourself or nominate them. Certainly there, as has been mentioned, there are skill sets that we're always looking for. Because this is in addition to what we do in the SCA, this is a mundane corporation as well. So legal experience, business experience, IT experience, all those things are valuable. As much as that though, some of those things are things that we can hire or that we can get volunteers for. We also are, quite frankly, looking for people of, for the things that they're harder to hire for. People of drive, people dedicated to the mission of the SCA, who want to see it thrive, who care about the experience that they are having in the SCA, the experience that their friends are having in the SCA, and who want to make sure that the SCA is here for themselves. For me, I'm a second generation SCA member, so I'm very grateful that the SCA has been here. I'm 50 some years old, and I'm thankful that my mom joined when she did, and that it's been here for my entire life. My kids are in the SCA, and I'm hopeful that I have a granddaughter too, and I'm hopeful that she will have an excellent SCA experience when she grows up. And I'm not sure that I want to inflict being a board member on her when the time comes, but I'm hoping that she has the option when she gets to that age. And the way that happens is through all of us and through you and through the people that follow us to be good stewards of the society. And this is one way to do that. I'm hoping that, if you have the skill sets or people that do, that you will consider that and not be intimidated by the stuff. It's not nearly as bad as a job as it looks. Not everybody hates you. Some do, I'm not gonna lie. But that's true regardless of what you do. And it is a very rewarding job. So box on. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay.
That was a very nice soapbox.
Thank you. Thank you. Practice that in the mirror a few times. Where are we at anyway? Order.
As of this point, representatives from the board and the senior officers are very much looking forward to attending the East Kingdom Rapier Crown List coming up. We are looking for opportunities for meet and greets towards the latter half of this year. If anybody is interested, please let me know, and I can get you the information, what's needed. Thank you.
That will bring us to item 4 on the agenda, old business. Item A under that is the 2023 and 2024 annual reports. Bridget?
Mr. Chair, board members, thank you very much for your patience. There have been some delays, but we are very pleased to submit the 2023 and 2024 annual reports for publication. The corporate treasurer has advised that the financial information following some delays with the audits is now available and ready to go. So that has been inserted, and we have adjusted things to reflect the changes to structure that had occurred in 2024.
Bridget, we have all had an opportunity to review the reports and I do want to take the opportunity. I know that the audience has not seen them yet, although they will be distributed in the near future. But they are up to your usual high standards of execution, and they are lovely. That's a technical term. I extend my thanks for the effort that you put into those. And I look forward to when they are distributed to the membership, and the membership has an opportunity to review them and see all the wonderful works that are going on about the SCA. I'll open the floor if there are any questions or other commentary from the directors and officers. Okay. Mr. Sides. Sorry. Separate. Will do. Yeah. And I believe that it's yeah. I just wanted to make sure that, yep, okay, in that case, I'll open the floor. We need to be looking for a motion to approve separately two different motions, the 2023 and 2024 annual reports.
I'll do the motion.
Director Katz.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the 2023 annual report as presented.
There is a motion from Director Katz, a second from Director Shepherd. Sorry, Bud.
That's fine.
Is there a discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? And by 6 directors in favor, none opposed, that motion carries and the 2023 report is accepted. We would now be, and there, Director Katz.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the 2024 annual report as presented.
Is there a second? Director Banker. Is there a discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? And it's 6 directors in favor, none opposed. That motion carries, and the 2024 annual report is also accepted. And once again, thank you very much, Bridget. That was a lot of work. I'm tempted to bury the lead because I know there's some time people waiting with bated breath for this next thing on the agenda, but I'm not that guy. So the next item on the agenda is item 4B, the ranged peerage. Director Shepherd.
Was that today?
That is, I'm told.
So the poll is complete. We've made an announcement as to what the timeline will be for the crowns to make their selections for the first premieres of their order. So I'm pretty sure the thing you want to know now is what the name, device, and regalia will be. You want me to just go straight to it, or you want to?
You've done the work, my friend. You need to do that.
So, do it.
Excellently good.
Oh, no problem. So we ran a poll of the membership. We had what was the number on our 1748 responses. The overwhelming choice for the name was Order of the Mark. Now, if you can, I know you had it in a second, if you can bring back the name of the device itself, the name of the device, right? It was option B, tinctureless, a set of nesting scales within and conjoined a maskell flurry at the upper point, was the device that was chosen. And finally, for regalia was a pair of pipe bracers or band braces.
And with those selections made to make plain to the board what the preferences and will of the membership are, that is the final piece for us to be able to fill in the blanks, as it were, and make our final motions and ultimately pass what we need to pass and put things in the hands of the crowns to do as they need to do.
Leslie, do we need a motion on each one of those, or can we accept them as presented?
I am going to defer to Stacy on this one, because I really wasn't sure.
It's fine, we can do 3 motions.
Yeah, let's do separate, all our states across our motions.
Yeah.
Sure.
3 separate motions.
And that's Mr. Chair. But
That's okay.
that's right together.
That's okay. Copy.
So it's your last meeting. Would you like to do the first one?
I will,
Director Baker?
Mr. Chairperson. I move that we, actually, let me do an informal discussion briefly to make sure how we word these.
Sure.
Because we previously approved the overall structure, we're just approving the name, device, and regalia for the previously mentioned order.
That is correct.
So would I just say, I move that it's not accept, it's
Approved.
approve the order. Thank you. Okay, I will try again, Mr. Chair, please. I move that we approve the order of the range marshal peerage to be the order of the mark.
As a point of clarification, I think what you wanted to say was that we approve the name of the.
Yes, sorry, the name of the order, you're correct. Thank you for that friendly amendment.
Thank you. That is a motion from Director Seeker. Is there a second? Director Foster. Is there a discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Okay, I will exercise my option to vote and do so in the affirmative. Are there any directors opposed? That is 7 directors in favor, none opposed, none abstained, and that motion carries. Director Katz.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the badge for the new range peerage as teacherless, a set of nesting scale weights within and conjoined to a masculine flurry at the upper point.
There's a motion from Director Capps. Is there a second? Second from Director Banker. Is there discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Please note I'll exercise my option to vote and do so in the affirmative. Any opposed? With 7 directors in favor, none opposed, and none abstained, that motion carries. Director Shepherd.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve as regalia for the Order of the Mark 2 white band bracelets. Bracers.
That is a motion from Director Shepherd. Is there a second? Second from Director Capps. Is there a discussion on this motion? Beth?
May I ask a point of clarification?
Of course.
On the bracers and braces. All right, so I'm not a herald, and it's just what I'm applying. But if I understand it correctly, would that also include things like 2 white bracelets, 2 white arm cuffs?
Please.
I don't think we need to impede anyone's artistic license with that. How that order decides to, and each individual decides to display those bracers would be on them. We don't impede on anyone's ability to wear large or small chains or badges, or I think I'm all about some individual expression on that. And that's a level of getting into it that I don't think the board wants to get into.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
No, thank you for it. That's a wonderful question. Yeah, I'm sure some people wanted to hear that because, I know some of the commentary that we got was, wearing big long bracers. We get hot in the summer months in Meridians and non-Stiora. You may not go with certain things if you have that leeway. And let me say one thing right quick, since I have the pulpit for a second. You don't always have to wear your regalia. It's fine if you don't. I get that you'll be new, you'll be proud. I know I'm proud of my peerages as well, but you don't have to wear it. I yield.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. I just want to say one thing in response to that. Martial peerages, especially on the battlefield, should be identifiable.
Yeah.
But people do have that choice, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And I get it.
Further discussion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. And I will also exercise my option to vote and do so in the affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Directors opposed? And that is 7 directors in favor, none opposed, none abstaining, and that motion carries as well. There's going to be some more details and whatnot, but we're over the hump and we have a missile period. We are going to take a short recess. let's say 10 minutes. For, water, development parks. And also restroom, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but 10 minutes and we'll reconvene. So 12:10 local time, whatever that would be, it happen to be, and we will restart. Now that we are back from our short recess, we will recommence with with our business. There are a couple more motions that we need to get out of the way relating to the administration and elevation mechanics for the new peerage. So we will commence with those now. Director Katz.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we instruct the kingdoms that the first elevation to the Order of the Mark can begin on or after June 7th.
That is a motion from Director Katz and a second from Director Banter. Sorry, Chef. Is there a discussion on this motion? And I'll recognize myself just to make commentary to the audience and whatnot. This is in line with the information that was previously distributed from the board with respect to the timeline for the new peerage. The elevations would occur on or after June 7th of this year. This is just a motion that would make that official. Any other questions, commentary, or considerations from the board?
I do have a quick question. I believe with the Master of Defense, or for the Order of Defense, all of the first people in all the different kingdoms, the order of precedence was the same date. Will that be the same for the new order?
It's coming in a third motion to be made in a minute, I suspect.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions, commentary, or concerns? In that case, we'll move to voting. With the motion on the floor, directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Director, for clarity, considering the timing, Megan, you are in favor or opposed?
In favor.
She's in favor. No, it's she was raising her hand as I was. It wasn't a timing thing. Thank you, Megan. I will note the record up. That shut me off as I moved. So in the affirmative, with 7 directors in favor, none opposed, that motion carries. I believe there's another motion to be offered.
Can I do the precedence one now?
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Director Katz.
Mr. Chairman, I move that all members of the Order of the Mark who are elevated on June 7th will have equal precedence regardless of the time of day that they are elevated.
That is a motion from Director Capps and a second from Director O'Shea. I believe I'm correct in that.
She's frozen on your screen.
Okay.
She's not frozen.
Okay. So that is not reliable for me. Second from Director Shepherd then, my apologies. Sorry, Megan, it froze on the screen for me.
Weird, that's okay. I mean, I was gonna take the second, but that's all right.
Is there a discussion on this motion?
Did we say in the previous month? I can't remember how many.
That's pretty
So many.
Director Mantle?
So just to clarify this, since we did get some commentary on it. It's only those elevated on 37th.
That is correct. That is correct.
Thank you.
And it's the date, not where in the world you are. Sorry, Lockhart.
They're way ahead of us. They're ahead of us.
Right. You look at June 7th there before it's June 7th here, and they still don't get extra precedence.
Okay.
Other than bragging
So
rights.
for-
Right, absolutely.
I am wondering for kingdoms who don't have events scheduled for that date and might not have enough time to get something scheduled for that date, could we amend it so that if, whoever the first 3 are in that kingdom, it's the same precedent?
I suppose, if, for example, and I don't know what your schedule is here, but if Artemisia, had their first event in June on the 14th, then I suppose we could find a way to make it so that if the first set you do it's gonna be an awkward situation. Yeah.
Well, sure. So the seneschal, the previous kingdom seneschal in me has a way to do it.
Okay.
Right now, well, it sounds bad. But since meetings, since practices are all events, you can in fact open a court as at a private practice or a meeting, read them into the record.
Mr. Chairman, that is not official fire documentation. But it has to meet the requirements of 442C.
Okay, you're gonna have to put 2C for my dad. I mean, it's the publication requirement which they need instead of.
These are also getting into a dicey territory of what defines an event, and yeah, we do have so events that would.
I would drop what I said because, you know, I was a king of Central 20 years ago. Call Stacy, call Mooney, figure it out.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
as a point of clarification, I think kingdoms can choose that if they don't do it on June 7th and do all of them on another day, they can choose to have them equal precedence in
Within their own kingdom.
Leave it to the kingdoms after June 7th.
I do.
I like leave it to the kingdoms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I like leave it to somebody else. Kingdom's fine too. Any other? Yes, Kate.
We just put into the chat, the Society Herald, for those who are wondering who I'm talking about. She offers a suggestion: the founding members of the order of each kingdom will have precedence as of June 6th. So I'm assuming June 7th is when she's talking about, regardless of when in June the elevation takes place.
No,
That's not what I think.
Do that.
I don't think we can do that.
Liz.
I'm just going to point out that when the order of defense was created, not every kingdom created people right away. My kingdom,
Yes.
and I just have that precedence within their kingdom, whatever it falls. Yeah, that's a kingdom thing.
They're not required to do everything on June 7th, but they
No.
begin.
But they
Set
yeah,
it as it goes written.
I agree. No, I appreciate the suggestion from Mooney. I just don't think that would be allowable under other sections of articles and et cetera. Any other questions or commentary? Otherwise, I think we'll proceed. I've had enough opportunities to stick my foot in my mouth, so. All right, I believe the motion is still on the floor in action. So, yeah, in that case, we will move to the voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. I will exercise my option to vote and do so in favor. That is 7 directors in favor, none opposed, and no abstentions. That motion passes. And I think there is yet one more.
And one more. Okay, this one's a little back and forth. So kingdoms may make their first 3 offers or writs for the order of the mark on or after May 1st, but may not make any more offers or writs until proper consultation with the elevated principles of the order.
You said May 1st?
May 1st.
Now you're gonna have to do that again in the form of a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that kingdoms, crowns may make their first 3 offers or writs for the order of the mark, beginning on or after May 1st, but may not make any more offers or writs until proper consultation with the elevated principles of the order of the mark.
Okay, is it second from Director O'Shea? Knew she was gonna get one. Is there a discussion on this motion? Okay, and Director O'Shea. I'll recognize myself. This also is in line with the information that was distributed to the membership. For clarity, you know, as most are aware, that our normal mechanism for making peers is that the crowns consult and poll the existing members of the order, and then in line with their customs and kingdom law, then choose to elevate new members. There aren't any members of this order. This is essentially a It's not a variance per se, it is a path forward, a one-time, if you will, path forward from the board to make the first 3 members, after which the kingdom now has an order with which the crown can consult to then follow the normal procedures of the Cora and the kingdom and their kingdom law to then consult to make new members thereafter.
One of them, the way you said, crown must consult.
I did say it.
They can't.
Yes. We're gonna wordsmith me on it.
Yes.
I did say in keeping with their kingdom law and all that stuff. It says that in there. So, with that commentary out of the way, are there any other questions, commentary, considerations? In that case, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. And I will exercise my option to vote and do so in favor. That is 7 directors in favor, none opposed, no abstentions, and that motion also carries. I believe that is all of them, and the order of the mark is officially created and is out there.
Mr. Chair.
Director Baker.
Just as a point of information for folks, the Heralds are still finalizing this within the O&A, so it's moving forward, and that's one last piece of administrative must happen.
Herald or heralding? Yes.
Also kingdoms, now is your time to change your kingdom law to make sure that this is included. Heralds, time to write your ceremonies so that we can have the appropriate pomp and circumstance for these principles of this order.
All right, if there are no further questions or commentary around this topic, we'll move to the next item in the agenda. This will be item 4C. Stacy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There have been some issues popping up in social media with regard to profiles stating the page owner, in quotation, works at SCA Incorporated, or words to that effect. As these complaints come in for people not following our social media policies on a by complaint basis, as they cross my desk, I must address them. Therefore, with the board's permission, I would like to take this opportunity to remind everyone of the social media policy. That states in places, and I don't have the citations, but it is online, easily accessible by everyone, that the social media policy for SCA Incorporated applies to all people communicating through official SCA Incorporated social media channels, that people using a profile or interacting on any social media, including unofficial channels, in a manner that demonstrates a direct connection to SCA Incorporated, and that officers of SCA Incorporated have a responsibility for managing SCA Incorporated social media channels. Social media policy item 2. Further, SCA Incorporation's expectations for functioning in an online world are stated in Corpora 2B, which says, all participants are expected to behave in an appropriate and respectful manner. Participants must consider how their online actions may impact the reputation of SCA Incorporated, Society for Creative Anachronism, and SCA are trademarked by the Society, and SCA Incorporated reserves the rights to manage the use of these trademarks. And finally, that no person using a profile connected to the SCA may publish content on social media that is bullying, abusive, harassment, or hate speech, and endangering or threatening the safety or well-being of others. In short, Mr. Chair and directors, when one puts themselves in the position of representing the SCA online and publishes content that is in violation of our corporate policies, you open yourself up to the potential for complaint and potential sanction.
I believe I'm correct in saying that that you are not asking for any specific board action other than to take note that this has been, there's been a rise in this type of activity of something that has garnered your attention.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just taking.
By consensus and without objection, we will certainly take note of that. By way of commentary, I would also say, you know, we are, the SCA is, we benefit greatly from our members and volunteers. And I don't think we want to do anything to discourage our volunteers from being proud of their volunteership, their volunteerism, and their engagement with the SCA. While at the same time, we want to make sure that our policies and standards of behavior are being followed when they're being engaged by the. See, is that a fair assessment of what you're looking at?
That is a fair assessment. The communications officer, Bridget Costello, are going to try to make some language that's a little more easy to follow. To expand upon this, and that while we are certainly very happy and enthusiastic that people want to show their associations with SCA Incorporated online, that there are some instances where the content that may reach outside of our organization is not painting the corporation in the best light.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, please continue with your good works in this area. Anything else on that, Stacy? Okay. That'll bring us to item D, the variances requested by Society Central.
Mr. Chair, in July of 2023, the board of directors allowed for a variance for the Kingdom of the Mid-Realm, to begin an experiment using the designation of a hamlet under very specific guidelines and rules that were established at that time. The sunset date on that variance for that experiment is July of 2025. I would like to ask the board if we may extend or expand this experiment and expand it into other kingdoms, because currently we have one hamlet in one kingdom per the variance that was allowed by the board. And an N of 1 is not a sufficient data set to really gain any information as to how well or poorly this is working. We simply don't know. We have other kingdoms that are interested in this, and the request is for the board to grant this experiment to continue forward and into other kingdoms with a deadline of July of 2027. At which point we can look at the data and see if this is a successful experiment and something that might become more.
Okay. As a point of clarification, are you asking for, would this be an extension of the existing variance or a new variance?
It's an extension, but it's also a request for an expansion, because the initial variance was only for.
I'll get to that part in a second.
So.
Okay. So this would be an extension of the existing variance. Point 1. Point 2, this would be an expansion of the existing variance to include additional groups under the same terms as the original, essentially.
And that would fall under the purview of my office.
Which would fall under. Are you requesting this variance for specific groups, or to have the ability to apply said variance to existing and future groups on a case-by-case basis up to that date?
We are specifically requesting it at this time for kingdoms that are interested in it, but with the idea of expanding that within that 2-year time frame on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, so I think this would be a new variance, that because you're not asking for a specific set of groups, but the ability to offer this for as yet unnamed groups within this period of time to be sunsetted at this date. So this would be a new variance then. Okay. Right. I think I understand the.
Well, it's a little complicated because initially it was a variance.
No, yeah, this is a new variance essentially. Though it's a little different than what we were doing before. I'm not pushing back. I actually think it's a good idea. I just want to make sure I understand the box that this goes in. Other questions or
And a motion and we're ready.
Okay,
I have a question.
Jim,
Just for the benefit of those who are not aware of what a hamlet is, can you explain that in general terms?
In very general terms, a hamlet in this particular instance would be a designation for groups that are very far flung away from other groups, have either decreasing or declining membership, but would like to maintain their identity. There are a certain set of requirements to become a hamlet. You just don't decide, hey, we'll get these group of people together and become a hamlet. A hamlet is a specific designation here in North America for groups that are, their only other choice is abeyance and dissolution. And we would like to do what we can to keep these groups as active as we can. It would change some officer requirements, because again, we're looking at very small groups, and I would actually defer to Liz on this because this began during her tenure.
Okay, basically the idea as presented by the mid-realm was that groups that were faced with dissolution because of tiny membership and situations where the same 4 people have been passing around the 3 required offices forever, and well, that doesn't seem like a lot of work. The group is very active. There's a big emotional toil on labor toil on that. There really is. So the Middle Kingdom Seneschal at that time approached me as she was going to require that a group be dissolved first by the board, and then they could become a hamlet under the auspices of a nearby group, a shire or barony that was willing to say, yeah, we're their sponsor. And they could continue to meet. They would have to have a person, they would not have a bank account. They would have, you wouldn't have to have an exchequer in another office. They would have to have like what we used to call in my kingdom a contact person, somebody who's a national member who's willing to stay in touch with the main group and keep, let them know what's going on occasionally. But they would be able to still rent or not rent, but get the free library room that they were getting before for meetings under being the same name that they're familiar with. They would be able to hold like a fighter practice or an archery practice if they have a warranted marshal available, which could be provided by the sponsoring group. Or, in my kingdom, we have marshals at large. There might be one in the group who would be willing to host it also. The idea is to give particularly the far-flung, underpopulated rural areas a way to maintain themselves and hopefully be able to come back eventually as an official group if they're able to eventually gather a few more people. That's the idea, and that they can maintain their vestige of identity by still being the hamlet of where in the world, under the auspices of the shire way out there. And that was the idea. We have had serious interest at various times expressed by Artemisia and Outlands and North Shield, all of whom have some of these far-flung, underpopulated areas of what a friend of mine used to call miles and miles of nothing but miles and miles. And most recently, we've had a group in the West that is fallen on hard times that has expressed interest in this. It's been done under slightly different auspices for Loch and Drakkenwald for a few years. The board actually approved that one in 2018 and did not sunset it. And they have a few scattered ones here and there. They've also used it to be something for people that are trying to form a group but don't quite have enough people. So anyway, that's some of the history, and when it was brought up in 2023, the board had a lot of questions. I went and did more research into how it's working in Loch and Drakkenwald, and there are stringent rules, so you're not going to have a situation where a little piece of the group doesn't like the rest of the group, so they're going to break off and form a hamlet. It's going to be under very tight control of Stacy and the Kingdom Seneschals, and we both think it's worth trying.
Given the number of groups that dissolved during Liz's tenure a lot, and the 3 that we talked about just earlier today, with a 2-year time limit, we can see how well this may or may not work and decide what to do going forward.
A lot of groups during my tenure were dissolved that were these small rural shires that were out in the middle of nowhere, and the same 4 or 5 people had been trying to keep them going for years, and they just wore themselves out. And they can still get together and do the things and have a little bit of coverage and such, but they don't have to have the burden. And some kingdoms actually require certain things. If you're an official group, like there are some groups that require you to hold an event once a year, that sort of thing. And these.
From the context and from the original variance, if memory serves, I believe that the intent of this hamlet designation is that it be temporary, and that at the end of the term, it would either, if things are moving well, would move out of the hamlet designation into one of our established permanent designations, or would ultimately move to some other final disposition, either through dissolution, folding into some other group, etc. So in other words, that this is essentially a mechanism for remediation of what is assumed to be or envisioned to be a temporary situation, and that with relaxed reporting and other requirements to give the group an opportunity to right the ship per se, but that is not a permanent.
The idea is that this is not a permanent solution, that it's when your only other option is if the next closest group is 80 miles away, and you don't have another group that you can fold into, or there's not a barony within 100 miles. The choices are dissolve or try something else.
Understood. Sorry.
Yeah, two questions. First, what would your opinion be on the groups that have recently been dissolved, possibly joining this experiment?
The ones that have this, and I'll use the ones from earlier during this meeting as an example, Bitter End literally had one person left. Not a lot of there to work on, so they had decided with their community seneschal, the one person who was remaining there, that no, this is just, everyone has moved away, there is nothing. The two shires that decided that they wanted to dissolve, but they also had the benefit of having a barony close by that they could then join their zip codes to. That may have been a reasonable option for them, but as it was not available, we simply did not address it.
I was thinking more of ones at previous meetings, not necessarily the specific ones from today.
It's possible.
My second question, and this is using a crystal ball out to the end of this, and I won't be here for it. Would this possibly replace the practice of abeyance as groups are going through that process?
There's the potential for that. There's the potential for it. And we will, as many of you know, I am a scientist in the modern world, and there will be several metrics that I will be using to measure what numbers are doing, what they're fluctuating, and then bring that to the board as we're getting near that experimental end date to judge whether or not this was a success or not.
Thank you.
Any other questions, John?
Just to clarify, because you did mention it in your discussion, this proposal is only for existing branches as an alternative to dissolution, not for forming branches, correct?
Well, forming branches typically again in North America are incipient branches, and they have some relaxed standards as well. This is more along the lines of, if you were thinking about it in terms of a bell curve, incipient is the beginning of the bell curve, full branch status is here. This is where hamlets would start to fall, with the hopeful idea that maybe they go back up the hill.
Thank you.
Liz?
I will say, and I may put him on the spot here because we have essential Artemisia present. When he looked around that place, he does look at me with me. When he contacted me, or I sought some opinions from some of the kingdom essentials that I mentioned. He has, I think, is slightly different. He was talking about areas of your kingdom where there were a few people here and scattered here and there, and you felt like you could, if you could tell them, you know, in this little town that they could form the hamlet of something or other, but they couldn't get it together enough right then to form a group. You thought that might give them something that they wanted to work towards with the board's permission. Would you be willing to hear from him?
So if I had the tool of Hamlet, for example, I've got a group in Evanston, Wyoming. They're 80 miles from where we are today. They're that way through the mountains. There's a group of maybe 5, 6, 7 people. They were a shire a few years ago. They fell into the dissolution of Friend. If I were allowed, I would form a hamlet for them today and use that as bait for them to start working on getting them into shire status, which they would like to do. We give them a name, put them on the map, start working on their device. There is a device for that group. Start getting them on the road and pushing them in that direction. I've got another group up in Helena, Montana. And if you're wondering what it's like living in some of these far-flung areas, you know, there's hundreds, thousands of square miles. It's like, does this small group really need half of Montana? And the answer is, well, there's no one out there. And so finding a way to get them put together into a hamlet would be an incredibly useful tool. For me, I would use it to bring groups back from the dead that are currently dead. You know.
Actually, what he was asking about.
And if I could, I would also use it to put them on the map as an incipient group. But it's up to the board to decide whether they want to do that. But definitely, yeah.
They were considered phase 2, but we see
Yeah.
success first and
Well,
see if it would expand.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the intent of what you're articulating. The thing I'm having trouble with is as described by the former and current Society Central, the designation of hamlet has a very specific mission and focus, for essentially rehabilitating groups that for one reason or another have fallen into disarray for one reason or another. An argument can certainly be made for potentially using it as a mechanism for resurrecting groups that have dissolved for one reason or another. That would be stretching what it is. But I mean, we already have incipient groups and whatnot. So I think we would have to evaluate what a hamlet is and its intended purpose against incipient groups and their intended purpose because at a certain point are we just kind of mashing it all into one thing?
Two separate things, sir.
Yeah. I'm not saying no, I'm just saying I think that would require some further consideration.
Perhaps phase 2.
Yeah, I mean, if we were having to do that today, then I'd say we'd have to remand that to give us the time to do the consideration. And if you want us to do that, then we can remand it. On the other hand, if you wanted to move forward with this as is now, we can do that and we can consider a phase 2 down the line.
After conferring with my esteemed colleague.
It stems the revitalizing of a group that has died a few years back, being able to bring them back that way, which was what I think Jonathan was talking about.
Yeah.
But it sounds like this might be an option for phase 2 to see how this works. And also, if I understand the director correctly, maybe at some point down the road, we start to reevaluate what is incipient, what is hamlet, and are these actually the same thing?
And by later, I mean that's really more a thing where, from my perspective, and keeping in mind I am one of 7, but as presented, in my mind, you have a well-contained, well-directed proposal for a rehabilitative state for a group to put it back on the field. The broader we try to make that, the less it loses its focus. And I mean, it gains more utility at the cost of which it loses some focus and et cetera. And it starts to overlap on other things. Ultimately, I'm not a person who has to administer those things. But I would want to see articulated, this is what a hamlet is, this is what an excipient group is, and here's how they're different, and here's how we would treat them differently. Here's why the one is not the other, et cetera. But here's where we want to expand a hamlet and its function to include these other things if we want to do that. I'm not opposed in principle. I would just want to see that articulated in order for me to get behind it. But like I said, I'm one of 7, so
may I offer a consideration? Like if you're at the bottom, like if the goal is to get a hamlet to grow, like I guess depending on where you look on the sine wave, it's either the bottom or the beginning. I think that we could benefit a little bit more from positive messaging about wanting growth from a hamlet. If you designate it as only as a tool to save someone or a group from ending, I think that has a certain connotation to it. And I think that the board should really consider growth aspect of the hamlet.
Liz?
I don't want to say too much, this isn't my job, but I would encourage the board to look at this right now as that endpoint part. Probably too broad yet. We do have, in my experience, when people are trying to form a group, there's a little more enthusiasm. They don't necessarily, they need support. Don't get me wrong, they need lots of support, but there are mechanisms for that in most kingdoms at this time. I would see this as a way of trying to preserve at a minimum, the interest of the few people who are left in those dying groups. I know one thing that Heloise, the former Middle Kingdom seneschal, wanted was she felt like these people were drifting away and we were losing their memberships and their participation. And this is a way to hopefully reverse some of that. Y'all dissolved 20 some odd groups during my tenure that fit that remote rural description. Let's just for theoretics, we'll say each of them had 3 paid members. And maybe now each of them has 1 paid member. That's 50 some odd members the STA lost. Theoretically, I don't have numbers to back that up. That's entirely supposition, but so I would encourage the board to adopt it more or less as Stacy is presenting it right now and not worry about the front end.
I have no issue with that.
And that's, she beat me to it.
We share a brain, we have for months.
As it is written and as it is presented, this is a step into a direction that we've not gone into before. The data that we have from the initial variants, not a lot. Would like to know how it flies, if it flies, how well it flies, and then revisit it as we approach that then and day. And status reports will be coming to the board of directors this week.
Excellent question, but if we're extending the time period for the variant or the new variants or whatever it's going to be, I think we might be hoping that groups will be failing so that we can experiment.
So a little bit of background, in the outlets, there are 8 groups, and outlets is miles and miles and miles and miles. There are 8 groups, and Kate's sitting next to me, vigorously, where they've got a group here and a group here and a group here and a group here and a whole lot of nothing in between. And this group is so far away from that group that they can't possibly combine. One would have to dissolve and combine. This would be a mechanism for that group, which is struggling to have an option. The same 4 people have been rotating seneschal, and this is a family of 3 and 2 other people are there, and you can't have an exchequer and a seneschal in the same household for obvious reasons. This would be a way to, you still keep your group identity. You have a spokesperson, you don't have any money. The money is controlled by the Kingdom Exchequer. You don't have any money, but you have people who can do the classes and be seen and have their fire practices in whatever way, shape, or form they come in with an authorized marshal that comes to watch those practices and give them an opportunity to get their feedback under them or figure out what the next version of themselves will look like.
I guess that results in general. My question was if there would be sufficient groups to have the variants for the experiment. And my proposal would have been perhaps adding a little time. So if there were some of these groups that were within the 20 that were dissolved, that they might be extended and offered to see it better as a way to do that.
I will leave that to the implementation of saying to the society seneschal or to the representation email. Any other questions, commentary, considerations? I think then we would be to the point of a motion, which Director Cap appears prepared to make.
I know. Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize the Society Seneschal to expand and extend the variants that establish the Hamlet experiment to include interested kingdoms on a case-by-case basis, following the current guidance and requirements set forth by the Society Seneschal. This experiment would conclude July 31st, 2027. At that time, the Society Seneschal will deliver a report and recommendation as to whether to adopt hamlets as a new branch designation. I will send that to you.
As a point of clarification, I don't think that this would be an expansion of the existing, given the nature of what she's asking for. I don't think this would be an expansion of the existing variants. I think it would have to be a little new one.
It's the expansion of the experiment.
But it would have to be a new variance because of what she's asking for.
I think it's 201 to extend the existing and then a second to expand to make the existing experiment.
Yeah.
Based on what the original motion is.
Yeah. Bob?
A recommended friendly amendment. Of course. Instead of saying to expand and extend, just say to grant a variance. I think the rest of
Existing variants that's still active.
but it will fade out every 3 months.
Yeah. The variance was to allow the thing with the hamlet. It's not tied to the variance. I mean, the status of the group is what it is. I mean, if the variance is granted as, you know, with the friendly amendment, I mean, the group just goes under the new variance. And I think, and in other words, I think Doug is correct. I think that fixes the procedural issue. If you were, you know, minded.
Just to grant your variance.
Yeah.
I would move to authorize the Society Seneschal to grant a variance to
I think the rest of it's just fine. Yeah.
create a hamlet experiment.
Can you read that without making an emotion to start with?
Move to authorize the Society Seneschal to grant a variance to create a hamlet experiment to include interested kingdoms on a case-by-case basis.
Can you read just the first dozen words or so?
Move to authorize the Society Seneschal to grant a variance.
Okay, hold on. Hypothetically, if you were to move to grant the variance of the Society Seneschal to extend the experiment, I think that would be procedurally correct.
It would be extend and expand then.
Because extend and expand, yeah,
Because the current.
but you would be granting a new variance to extend and expand the experiment. That I think is correct.
So, Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the variance presented by the Society Seneschal to extend and expand the experiment to include interested kingdoms on a case-by-case basis, following the current guidance and requirements set forth by the Society Seneschal. This experiment would conclude July 31st, 2027. At that time, the Society Seneschal will deliver a report and recommendation as to whether to adopt hamlets as a new branch of designation.
Friendly amendment.
Please.
The experiment is the hamlet experiment.
Yes, thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Yes,
I'm gonna pause to add for a second until after the language is sent to Leslie.
it is sent to Leslie.
Thank you.
By email or
In the chat.
Is there a second? Second from Director Foster. Is there a discussion on this motion? More discussion on this.
Yes.
Folks,
Depending on the outcome of the experiment and the recommendations, it will probably have to take into account our affiliates. Because they have existing rules using this name. And so just something to think as we go.
any other discussion on the motion? In that case, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries.
thank you, directors.
Thank you, Stacy. This brings us to item 4D, 2.
Mr. Chair, I would request a variance for Her Royal Majesty Atlantia, who has just stepped down. I received an emergency phone call from the Kingdom Seneschal of Atlantia on the 4th of April, asking him that, he sent me a text and said, please call me immediately, it's an emergency. During that call, he informed me that Her Royal Majesty Atlantia, who was with me today, was at the ER with her spouse. There was a family emergency, and it was very unlikely she was going to make her decoronation, her step-down coronation. His Royal Majesty Atlantia, they are not sharing a house. or otherwise involved. It was also going to be at the event, had the regalia so that it could be handed over, and would be in attendance to transfer, to the transfer of power, the transfer of this way. I explained that a variance was required for quora, and that because their royal majesties obviously must be in attendance at their own coronation for it to be a successful reign, but clearly no one can predict medical emergency, and this is precisely what we have variances for. I did grant the variance and sent a follow-up. I granted the variance over the phone and sent a follow-up email recapping our phone conversation and copying the Atlantean Ombudsman Director Caps at that time. Mr. Chairman, I would request that the board please uphold this variance on the emergency basis that it was granted.
Thank you, Stacy. Is there any questions for the presiding official? In that case, is anyone prepared to make a motion? Director Caps.
As Atlantia is my kingdom. Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the variance for the Crown of Atlantia, the most recent Crown of Atlantia, as presented by the Society Central.
As a motion from Director Caps, is there a second? Second from Director Bainter. Any discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries. Moving to item 4G. This is the addition of corporate policies, the policy on conduct. Please.
Mr. Chair, everybody get comfortable. This one's a little bit long and it's going to take a while for me to read. It was suggested that a policy on conduct be added to SCA corporate policies. This is taking existing SCA rules, these are not new policies, which are existing SCA rules, but we are gathering them into one policy in one location for the benefit of the membership to easily locate and understand, primarily because people wanted to know what it was exactly that leads to the potential for sanctions. What is the policy or the portion of COPORA that has been violated when sanctions are imposed? That went out for commentary. That commentary period began on January 8th. It concluded on February 28th. There were several comments and some questions to this proposed addition. And as a reminder to the board, as I read these, COPORA 13B, corporate policies of the SCA Incorporated, corporate policies may be altered, amended, or repealed in part or in whole by a 2/3 vote of the board. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. So okay. To read. All right, so policy on conduct to promote a safe, respectful, and enjoyable environment for all participants. This policy on conduct outlines the expectations for behavior during all SCA events, activities, and interactions, both in person and online. This policy does not supersede modern law. Violations of modern law should be reported to law enforcement authorities. Adherence to SCA rules and laws. 1. All participants must adhere to the SCA's governing documents, COPORA, corporate policies, and bylaws, as well as board-approved SCA officer policies, kingdom law, and any event-specific rules. Understanding and following these rules is the responsibility of all participants. 2. Participants are expected to respect the decisions and directions of SCA officers, marshals, and event staff. These individuals are responsible for upholding the rules and safety standards of the SCA. Disagreements may be addressed through the chain of appeals as necessary. 3. Participants shall not behave in a manner which could put the SCA or its participants at risk or fear of imminent harm. 4. Violations of this policy may result in disciplinary actions, including but not limited to warnings or sanctions, up to and including temporary removal of participation or revocation and denial of membership in the SCA. The degree of action will depend upon the nature, frequency, and severity of the violations. B. Responsible with resources. 1. corporate and kingdom financial policies must be followed. This policy may be further defined in the society financial policy, individual kingdom policies, and SCA corporate treasurer documents. 2. Officers and members responsible for managing SCA funds must ensure that financial resources are used prudently with transparency and accountability. See also Exchequer's Handbook. C. Respect towards participants. 1. The SCA promotes an environment free of bullying and harassment of all individuals and groups. This policy may be further defined in the Seneschal Handbook policy on harassment and bullying and the SCA conduct and behavior documents. 2. The SCA is committed to creating a welcoming environment for all participants. Discrimination based on race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, religion, disability, age, or background is not allowed. 3. The SCA prohibits non-consensual sexual behavior, including but not limited to sexual assault, sexual harassment, stalking, and sexual violence. This policy may be further defined in the Seneschal Handbook under sexual misconduct policy and the SCA conduct and behavior documents. D. Responsibility with minors. 1. The responsibility for the care, supervision, and behavior of minor children rests solely with their parents or legal guardians at all SCA events, activities, and gatherings at all times. This policy may be further defined in the Seneschal Handbook dealing with minor/youth-related policies. 2. Parents and legal guardians are not relieved of their primary responsibility for the welfare and behavior of minors under their supervision when participating in SCA youth activities. This policy may be further defined in the Seneschal Handbook dealing with minor/youth-related policies. E. Safety and well-being. 1. All participants must prioritize the safety of themselves and others during all activities. 2. Compliance with SCA established safety regulations and procedures is mandatory. 3. The possession of modern firearms at SCA events is prohibited. This policy may be further defined in the Seneschal Handbook under firearms policy. F. Animals. 1. The responsibility for the care, supervision, and behavior of pets and/or service animals rests solely with their owners at all SCA events, activities, and gatherings at all times. This policy may further be defined in the Seneschal Handbook, Service Animals Policy, and Pets at Official SCA Activities Policy. 2. Where animal restrictions apply, the only service animals allowed are those permitted under modern law. This policy may be further defined in the Seneschal Handbook, Service Animals Policy, and Pets at Official SCA Activities Policy. 3. The hunting or slaughtering of live animals is prohibited at SCA functions. This policy may further be defined in the Seneschal Handbook, Policy on Hunting, Slaughtering, and Butchering. G. Reporting and enforcement. 1. Members are encouraged to report any violations of this policy to the Office of the Seneschal. Reports must be made in good faith. 2. Reports of misconduct must be a non-anonymous first-person account. The SCA will document and keep reports confidential. Should an investigation become necessary, it will be conducted fairly and confidentially, respecting the rights of all parties involved.
Okay, so questions, commentary, considerations for the policy that the Society Central just articulated. This would be in addition to the corporate policies of the society, which of course requires board action, and that would be a motion. I'd make it myself, but I have to do the thing. Five?
Yes, Mr. Chairperson. I move that we adopt the corporate policy on conduct as presented by the Society Central.
The motion from Director Painter and a second from Director Shepherd. You know what, scratch that. I'm sorry, Shep, but Megan actually did beat you to that. That's fair. Discussion on this motion. And in that case, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Any opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries. This addition to corporate policy is adopted. That would bring us to item 5. Mr. Sorry, first. Excuse me. Go ahead.
As I will be leading this vote, I'll ask a clarifying question. Could this potentially be used in future actions by the board to help improve transparency with regards to actions that we take against individuals?
I believe it does provide us with a mechanism to be somewhat more specific on some of the actions that the board takes with respect to sanction. The reality is, given our need to preserve the privacy of both the complainants and subjects of complaints, as well as the integrity of the process, we are never going to be in a position to be fully and completely transparent with everything that happens in a sanction and all of the detail on the reasoning or on the reasons behind the sanction without delving into the details in such a way that it is somewhat more obvious is the wrong word, forthcoming about why someone, a particular individual, may or may not be sanctioned.
Yeah, and I would assume that the processes would have to be reviewed and updated before any changes to current methods.
If by that you mean that I will have to be chained to the computer reviewing Quora and the sanctions manual to make sure that our SOPs are in line, and then have to spend some time on the thing with Evan and state. Thank you for that, by the way.
You're welcome.
Other questions or comments? Then by all means, let's move to item 5, new business. 5A is proposed Corpora revision to Corpora 7J1 warranting / rosters. Stacy, I believe that is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was part of our discussion yesterday with the request from a member of the populace that perhaps the time to have physical addresses specifically mentioned on roster warrants, but again on all warrants, may have passed with the technology that we currently have. In the past, the physical address was necessary to be assured of the geographic location for local officers. This is something that can be checked through the membership portal now, rather than the physical address. A zip code may be sufficient. Officers must be members of the SCA, so that is something that we can look into. Additionally, this brought up other concerns for retention of such information over time and the proper storage of older warrants if they are not in an electronic format, if they're still in a paper format, to securely store those, and if they're in an electronic format, also to have those securely stored. After a discussion with in-house counsel, it appears that this is solely a corporate requirement, an SCA requirement, not federal requirement. So removing that piece of personal information And substituting it with something else may be something we could look at. It would require a change to corpora, which currently states that you must have telephone number, address, means of communication, etc. And it would also require a change to corpora because our warrants are part of corpora, and that would be a change to that warranty document.
My recollection from the discussion is that this also brought up some operational considerations around how the warrants are tangentially used for legitimate and customary operational reasons, albeit ancillary ones for the transfer of property and other things like that, considering that the officers in question generally do not have access to the membership database, which have people's actual addresses in it, et cetera, where the warrants frequently the only way that they actually would know where that is, et cetera. My sense personally is that given some of the issues that were raised yesterday, we probably will need to return this for further work, not because it's a bad idea, far from it, but because there were enough issues raised, operational issues, et cetera, that we need to figure out how to disengage the operational issues from figure out how to make sure that we can continue to perform the other functions, and then, be able to honor the intent of the request, which I think is a valid one and a smart one, to be able to further protect the privacy of our members, particularly the ones who are offering their time and whatnot as officers of the SCA, warranted officers of the SCA. I mean, unless other directors disagree, I think that ultimately, while I think it's generally a good idea, we probably need to return to further work to work on the details as it were. Item 5B, this is the SCA limited affiliate agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The directors should have the updated affiliate agreement by SCA Ltd, which is Australia. They had some laws or some changes they need to update. And it is before the board for consideration to approve this updated agreement.
Given given what it is, and with some of the changes and whatnot, and the fact that it effectively is a contract change and whatnot, we'll need some time to review that and confer amongst ourselves, and as with any other contracts, also run it past Evan, et cetera. So at first blush, I didn't see anything that made me twitch and whatnot, but nonetheless, I think we'll need to remand this to the conference call to give us some additional lead time to do our due diligence. Without objection, so ordered. I'm still good to go, but it has been roughly an hour and 20 since our last break, and then I need one. I see some nodding. In consideration to our audience, et cetera, 10 minutes enough? Do we need a little longer than that? It is 1:20, let's call it 1:25 local time. So if we reconvene at 1:35 local time, which I guess is roughly 12 minutes. So we will recess for 12 minutes and reconvene at 1:35 local time. I believe we have reached item 6 on the agenda. This is the reports section. Normally, we would proceed with the report from the president first. I believe we have a scheduling consideration such that by consensus and without objection, we will take a few items out of order. And in particular, if she is prepared to do so, I will jump to item D under reports, which is the report of the society treasurer, since she has a previously scheduled engagement and therefore is only available for a limited period of time.
I am ready to present my report. Mark, just give me a minute to bring it up. I have a ton of windows open right now on my computer. Herein follows the report to the Board of Directors regarding the Office of the Treasurer for the Society for Creative Anachronism for the April board meeting. The requested board actions, I have none. Policy interpretations or changes, I have none. New policies, none. Commendations, I would like to thank Bonnie Stringer, my primary deputy, who has stepped down as of the 1st of this month from the Society Exchequer's office. I can't thank her enough for all the work she's put into her office to help the Kingdom Exchequers and the local groups as well in trying to streamline the process for approving bank accounts, revising the financial policies, and being the go-to person for most of the local financial issues. Bonnie has served as Society Exchequer for approximately 4.5 years and has done a stellar job, and I'm looking forward to working with her replacement, Erin Potter-Tehan, who's coming in with some fresh ideas on our way forward. We've already implemented a few of those ideas, I might add. Congratulations also to the Kingdom of Glenavon for getting their 2024 consolidated work back to me first. This is the 2nd year in a row they've managed to do that. I'd also like to point out that the new Kingdom Exchequer for Abacal, Candace, has turned in her year-end report, and I believe that is the earliest we've received the Kingdom of Abacal in a number of years. And that's fabulous. In fact, the Canadians are kind of on top of things because I have both Abacal and Eldemir already. An updated report for the investment account as of the end of February is included with this report. The March statement was not available when I did my report. However, I have received it since then. It not only includes our overall investment picture, but a breakdown of the holdings. Our March balance as of March 31st was $957,000 approximately. Needless to say, the last couple of weeks have not been kind to us, and that account has lost about 5% of its value just since March 31st. When I looked at it at Schwab today, it was about $916,000, and that was up $10,000 at the last close from where it had been before. And I don't think I want to look very often over the next couple of months. As of the end of February, we are in the red to the tune of about $44,000. This is primarily because our largest insurance bills get paid in January and February. So hopefully things will turn around a little bit at the end of the year. And I also sent you copies of the balance sheet and profit and loss statement, which shows our year-to-date roughly is a loss of $58,000. I believe that report shows the investment loss, though, because we did have to take some money out of the investment account to pay the insurance bill. The 2024 year-end reports are starting to come in from the kingdoms. So far, I've received Artemisia, Atlantia, North Shield, at least part of North Shield, not all of North Shield, the Outlands, Eldemir, and Abacal. My printed report also said that the East and Middle had sent information in, but that is incorrect, I would like to note. And I do need to check to see whether or not they have uploaded it to our new file sharing site for those reports. I have been holding regular office hours every 2 weeks, and the last session was very productive in getting a couple of the kingdom's problems resolved. And our next session is actually coming up this coming Wednesday, which I believe is April 16th. And thank God tax season is over at that point. The audit of the 2023 year-end reports is still ongoing. Erin has been working to get Trimaris's reports balanced, but that has involved rebuilding their QuickBooks file, and I'm hoping to have this concluded hopefully this week because we have finished that rebuild. Our publishable summary, despite the challenges, is still trying to get 2023's year-end report and audit concluded on top of my usual tax season stress. Things are going apace with the 2024 year-end reports. Once mundane tax season ends, I'm hoping to spend more time in working with the kingdoms on their reports, and with any luck and hard work, this year's audit should be much easier than the 2023 audit. And as for travel, I have none planned so far this year, although I am looking at a cruise to Egypt next year. So that is the end of my report.
Are there any questions or requests for clarification? And by consensus of that objection, the report of the society treasurer is gratefully accepted. I believe there are a few additional reports and addenda that also fall under your purview, Carolyn. Balance sheet, profit and loss, etc.
Well, the balance sheet, hold on one second. I need to get over that one. Well, as of the last time I could pull a balance sheet, which was March 31st, and this is not adjusted yet because of the fact that our bookkeeper has not yet reviewed the entries that were made by the office. We have current assets of approximately $1.1 million and current liabilities of about $185,000. Most of that difference is, of course, the investment account. And our P&L as of the end of March, unadjusted, was negative $74,000. So unfortunately, March did not turn around our financial picture.
Those are the unadjusted numbers?
Those are the unadjusted numbers, and I have not yet updated my usual spreadsheet file that has all the months side by side yet, because I usually wait until Charlene has reviewed the entries and made her adjustments. So once I have that, that will go out to you. I know Natalia told her last week that she was done, and so I have not seen an email yet from Charlene confirming the March numbers yet. So the 2025 working budget will be adjusted probably shortly after the meeting. Since the budget was approved last year, I think, but I need to double check that I sent those numbers to the Society web ministers to get those posted. And the membership numbers, by the way, were also updated as far as I could go with them just this week, if anybody is curious.
I'm seeing nodding from the director, Carolyn.
Any other questions?
We're good. I'm seeing a lot of nodding and following along on this side of things.
Well, I believe that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you very much. And enjoy your engagement later today, by the way. Thank you for taking the time with us.
Well, thank you. I will see you guys tomorrow.
By consensus and without objection, I would like to move to item 6E, Society Herald, in consideration of the time where she's at, so that she can deliver her report and then get some sleep.
Thank you. It's not even 11 p.m. yet. First of all, section A, requested board actions. There are none this quarter. Section B, policy interpretations. Now these are a lot, because since the adoption of the current standards for evaluation of names and armory in 2012, our practice has been to incorporate our increasing knowledge and new rulings into the rules themselves, because that makes a lot of things easier than relying on an ever-growing corpus of precedents. The main drawback, of course, is that most board meetings have several of such changes. So I'll try to group these changes thematically. Part 1, updates to the SINA, that there are nine of these. Items 1 through 3 and 7 through 9 make minor clarifications to our armory rules to reflect our increasing knowledge of period practice. Item 4 clarifies how rulers of modern countries are protected under the names by which they are known, and also makes it clear that legendary rulers are treated as literary figures, not as rulers. And items 5 and 6 make minor clarifications to our name rules, again to reflect our increasing knowledge. And I believe the usual practice is for you to decide on these first before going further.
I move that we uphold the policy interpretation updates to Senate as presented by Laurel, Queen of Arms.
There's a motion from Director Bainter. Is there a second? Second from Director Shepherd. Is there any discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed. Motion carries and the policy interpretations are adopted.
And moving to the second part of our rule set, there are 3 changes to the glossary of terms. They too amend our armory rules to reflect our increasing knowledge of these things.
I move that we uphold the policy interpretation regarding changes to the glossary of terms as presented by Laurel, Queen of Arms.
So a motion from Director Bainter and a second from Director Capps. Is there any discussion on this motion? Being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Directors opposed? With 6 directors in favor and none opposed, that motion carries and changes to the glossary of terms are adopted.
And third, there is a rather routine change to the administrative handbook appendices, because the links in Appendix H, which is sources that do not require photocopies, have been reviewed and updated as necessary.
Hold the policy interpretation for changes to the administrative handbook appendices as presented by Laurel and others.
That is a motion from Director Bainter and a second from Director Foster. Is there further discussion on this? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Directors opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries as well.
And fourth, a rather more exciting thing, changes to the list of alternate titles. There are some new alternate titles in Japanese and 2 entire language groups in the Indian subcontinent.
That we uphold the policy interpretation for the changes to the list of alternate titles as presented by Laurel Queen of Arms.
Is there a second? Second from Director Foster.
Color commentary.
Director Baker.
I am glad to see that we're continuing to find additional titles for other cultures within our leadership. It's super cool.
Yeah. I'm just, to add to the commentary, there's yet another language I can't pronounce, which I don't feel bad about because I can't pronounce the names in English and I speak that one. So further commentary, questions? In that case, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Directors opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries.
Section C, new policies, none this quarter. Section D, commendations. These were, I believe, shown on the board during the recess. So going to section E, general status report. First of all, there will be a known World Heraldic Scribal Symposium on June 13th through 15th. This will be organized by the Kingdom of Antir, but there were issues related to site availability and other matters beyond the control of the event organizers, which made it necessary to hold this as a virtual event. Although in view of current real-world uncertainties, this is actually a prudent choice. Second, the College of Arms has, since 1981, had Heralds Extraordinary as a special category of members. But these haven't been included in the regular roster, and keeping track of the holders of this rank has been rather spotty. We now have a separate roster for this category of College of Arms members and a process for keeping it up to date. And third, Wreath King of Arms, that is the primary Laurel deputy tasked with making final rulings on armory submissions, is scheduled to step down in March next year. This position will be advertised to the College of Arms later this spring, so that the successor can be appointed in mid-autumn, leaving a sufficient time for an orderly office transition. Section G, known world summary, is that the Kingdom Colleges of Heralds appear to be working as expected. And Section H, travel, none projected at the time. And that concludes my report this time. Thank you.
Questions or request for clarification on the report of the Society Herald? Then, by consensus and without objection, the report of the Society Herald is also accepted. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, in the interest of consideration, by consensus and without objection, we will once again take items out of order and move to item 6A2, which is the report of the Society Communications Officer. Bridget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a small note. Some of this report will be verbal due to mundane commitments, and the board will receive it physically this week. So I thank the board for their consideration. Things continue to move in the world of communications and social media. I would like to draw to your attention the amazing work being done in particular by Kingdom social media officers right around the known world. They and their teams are the daily face of the society in an online environment, and they're continually looking for different ways to be able to expand how we communicate with our people in a very changing field, as well as how do we make sure that we are being able to amplify the excellent work done by our colleagues in the web office by being able to bring in new people to the society. So we are seeing some amazing things happening there. Big shout out as well to those people who are working into the video space. We continue to see more use coming up. We're seeing lots of take up on Discord, and this is something that is being actually investigated at the society level. But I'm not going to steal any thunder about announcements that may or may not be made in the future. But we are seeing different ways of being able to diversify our platforms. Social media platforms are incredibly useful, but they reflect their audiences. So we are constantly needing to review and make sure that we are communicating in spaces where people who play our amazing game exist. We continue to just keep working in the space, and we will have more updates. This is my second last meeting. I will be working with the president to advertise for the role in the upcoming quarter. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Bridget. You also have 6A3 for social media. I was concerned on another matter, so I'm not sure if you actually already covered that.
Mr. President, I was very efficient and decided I would cover both of them in a combined report for you.
Bridget, and given the mundane considerations and the time difference, thank you very much for being with us in person to deliver your report. Are there any questions or request for clarification from the report of the Society Communications Officer at this time? Communications Officer. In that case, the report of the Society Communications Officer and Social Media Officer are gratefully accepted. Thanks, Richard. I believe I'm correct in saying that with respect to folks in but with time constraints of 1 degree, none of them we ever missed those at this point. Did I miss anyone that has those? In that case, we'll jump back to item 6A. Val, you're up.
Correct. So I'd like to start off with accommodations, really quickly. I'd like to commend Bonnie Stringer for her time as the Society Exchequer. I'd like to commend Gloria Woodard, who has extended as the Publications Manager. I'd like to commend Isabel Lane, who has stepped into the role of SharePoint Champion and has done a lot of work there. I would like to commend one of the groups that has been working on one of the projects, the Guide for Crowns. I would like to commend Lori Ford, Seth Cagle, and Casey Kelly for all their time interviewing previous crowns and taking notes for the guide, and Aubrey Pham for editing and helping with questions for the interviews. And I'd like to commend Sam Davis, our VP of IT, who has also extended. And lastly, I would like to commend Sarah Norwood P for her time as the Society Minister of Arts and Sciences. And now to the summary. I'm thrilled that we have a new peerage to recognize the arranged community, and I look forward to the celebrations to come. And as an organization, I believe it is important to develop consistency and sustainability. One of my focus areas is to build a foundation that we can grow and expand. Often in the SCA, we find ourselves reinventing the wheel in a lot of areas. Many of the projects that are in play, that I'm working on in this role, is to create standards, processes, and procedures to create a more solid foundation for how the SCA operates organizationally. I know it sounds kind of boring, but here are some of the things I'm working on this past quarter. To minimize miscommunication, we are adopting the standard of having a scope created for every project. It will clearly outline the goals, steps, methods, and stakeholders and other relevant information to get everyone on the same page when major initiatives are being taken in this office. Lori Ford developed this for the special projects, and it has worked well to get everyone on the same page. The president facilitates the decisions made by the board of directors, and the process going forward is like whenever we have a major project, we'll have scope so that everyone knows where we're at. Organizing large and recurring events could benefit from a little bit more standardization. More events vary by kingdom, and the society wants to preserve the identities of these events. With that in mind, the SCA is full of experienced people who have managed these wars, experience that can be leveraged to determine best practices to develop a scalable policy to help structure and manage these larger events. A working group will be formed to craft this policy to present to the board of directors. A development team has been created this past quarter under the Office of IT. I am very excited about all the things I have planned. From a corporate perspective, I'm looking forward to moving forward with more data-driven decision-making. We need better metrics to allocate our limited resources. From our membership perspective, there are ways that we can improve the experience on the technology side. In addition to these projects and initiatives, I also have all the special projects as well. Lori Ford continues her efforts as my special projects deputy, managing multiple projects for this organization. So all of our projects have different names so that I can keep track of them. The estimated volunteer hours for projects Quantum and Insight are 100 hours this quarter, 10 hours volunteered for Praxis, 92 hours volunteered for Project Grown, and 18 hours on administrative work for the special projects deputy. But I'm guessing you probably want to know what the projects are. So Project Quantum is to create a proposal modernizing the SCA's method of electronic banking, payment, and transfers. The leads on this project are the treasurer, Carolyn, and Aaron, the society exchequer, and Bonnie was working on it before she started out. And the team involved Kira Muggeldaughter, Dame Petra of the Rosaki, Ane de Montgomery, and Dahlia Wandenberg. And for an update for that project, we are looking at alternative software solution, researching online banking, and researching single point of sale sites for groups on all. Project Insight is to overview for that is to reduce the complexity of the Exchequer office and simplify reporting. The leads are the same as before because it's another financial project, and the team is the same. Updates for this one: all Kingdom, War, and Society Exchequer deputies now have Microsoft 365 for corporate. This allows access to SharePoint sites that will host forms, report templates, training documents, and other living documents. Officers will be able to upload and share files while also reviewing or receiving real-time assistance with reports. The Society Financial Policy and Handbook are also being rewritten. Project Praxis is a project to centralize, streamline, and standardize all Society officer and deputy SOPs and their job posting and role listings. Gloria Warder has been working on this with Isabel Lane. For this, the update is that the handbook standardization template and walkthrough have been completed, and preliminary work has been done to build out the SharePoint framework. Project Grown is a project to create a guide for crowns by compiling advice and experiences from previous crowns to help incoming and new crowns. Multiple interviews are currently in progress or being scheduled. The team is Seth Cagle, Casey Kelly, and Aubrey Pham. The update is 325 royals have been identified to be interviewed, with 20 interviews conducted already. The previous president's report stated, I need to make that correction. I said that they were interviewing sovereigns, but I believe that is different from kingdom to kingdom. The people being interviewed are the crowns, and the people, and that's where we're at with that. Other works in progress. We are still working on the implementation of the Patreon membership. I've been working with Luis a little bit on that, and we're close to finishing that. There's also a project to create an acceptable use policy, and there is another project to create a society level discipline. And that concludes my report.
Excellent, thank you, sir. Are there any questions for the society president? And by consensus and without objection, the report of the society president, excuse me, is gratefully accepted. Moving on to item 6A1. This would be the report of the Vice President of Information Technology, who I am checking to see. I do not see him. Since that falls under your ombudsmanship, Jonathan, you'll do the honors.
This is the report for the Vice President of Information Technology for the first quarter 2025. Requested board actions. The server, which hosts the SCA's main webpage, the announcements list, and the Society for all the databases, has done well since we transitioned to it. We are starting to see heavier loads, and I am somewhat concerned as to whether the current server will be sufficient for future plans. IT has recently been inundated with requests for new services. While many of these may not land on the server, several of them will. I believe now is the time to look at increasing the size of the server to get ahead of that demand. When we moved to the current server, we reduced the monthly cost from approximately $800 per month to approximately $450 per month. We positioned ourselves at an Azure VM level, which is on a break point. The next step up would double the CPU or core count and the memory, and would add approximately $70 per month to the cost, or an annual cost of approximately $840. I would ask the board approve the increase in expenditure to accommodate future needs for the SCA.
Are there any, I understand that the VP for IT is not here. This happens to be what I do for a living, and I know a lot of the answers to any of the questions that anyone makes. that pertains to Azure. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. All right, in that case, if there are any directors who are of a mind to make a motion to act on the request from the Society VP for IT, Jonathan.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request from the VP of IT to increase his expenditure by the $7 a month.
So a motion from Director Foster with a second from Director Camps. Is there further discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Director in favor, please signify by saying aye, raising your hands. Directors opposed? Yes.
Can we change that motion to approve the funding to double the capacity as opposed to the specific money amount, since the money amount?
I will offer a friendly amendment if I may.
Joe.
I would like to reduce or to increase the funding, right? That's what we're looking for, to accommodate the upgrade of the server.
Jonathan, are you, is that friendly amendment acceptable to you?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so, any further discussion on this motion? And I guess we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Directors opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries. Yeah, Jonathan, please.
Policy interpretation is none. New policies none. Accommodations would have been in the scrolling pages. General status report. Information technology is entering a new era. With the addition of a SharePoint administrator and 3 new developers, we can now begin to leverage assets like the Neon One API and Office 365. This will enable us to provide new and better services to our members, officers, and event staff. We already have a long project list for our staff, but they immediately began their efforts. We want to thank Isabel Lane for stepping into the SharePoint administrator's role when the previous officer holder had to step down suddenly. David Cortillo has come on board as the SCA's first head of development. John and Botham and Chris Thompson have volunteered as members of his staff to help with development efforts. The server, which has served us so well in the past couple of years, has started to reach its limit. We are hoping we can increase its size soon to not only handle the current load, but prepare us for growing demands for service resources. Publishable summary. Information technology is growing. We have a new SharePoint champion and have created a development department. Both offices will be focused on creating tools to better serve SCA members, officers, and event staff. There are a number of good things on the horizon from information technology. This concludes the report.
Excellent. Since Sam is not here to answer any questions without objection, I'll skip past that part. And further, by consensus and without objection, the report of the Vice President of IT is gratefully accepted. That would bring us to item 6A1A, Society Web Minister. I'm sure that the head step away. So, Jonathan.
Yeah, Nick Milano had to leave the meeting. I don't see a report in the file drop for him. He was probably going to give it orally.
Okay.
Right.
Sure. By consensus, we will remand that for the next meeting. That'll bring us to item 6A4. By consensus and without objection, this would be the Society DEIB officer. By consensus and without objection, we will also remand this one to the next conference call. Stacy, item 6B, the report of the Vice President's operations.
Thank you. This is my first quarter report for 2025. Requested board actions were addressed at an earlier portion of this meeting. Variances were also previously addressed. I have no policy interpretations this term. I have no new policies this term. Group status changes were addressed previously. For travel, in addition to events in my own kingdom, I will travel to the board quarterly meetings for 2025 in Artemisia and other travel that may happen as on a needed basis. I will be out of the country for personal travel, May 11th through the 26th, and we'll have limited email access, but I will check that email. And my trusty and experienced TDR deputy, Liz Schrader, is on watch as well. She's on watch just in general. My publishable summary. Kingdoms are overall reporting that things continue apace. Many kingdoms are actively searching for new event sites. Availability has been declining since before the pandemic. Demos are also on many of our Kingdom Seneschal's kit parades, as a younger demographic is venturing out in search of us in some of the more heavily populated areas. As is the case with most things, while some areas are experiencing new growth and moving from incipient ship to full status, or even advancing status, there are branches that are in abeyance and moving towards dissolution. They are asking for extensions or variances rather than losing their sense of community. This was addressed in the variance previously. Classes, demos, group and activity administration for hands-on learning. None of these things will happen without the masses of our members who volunteer. Their dedication to the membership is a daily inspiration and many times what keeps me and my staff going. So thank you all very much. Mr. Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Stacy. Are there any questions or requests for clarification? Then by consensus and without objection, the report of the Society Central is gratefully accepted. That would bring us to item 6B1, the Society Youth Activities Officer.
Hi, so we have no requested board actions, no policy interpretations, no new policies, though I do appreciate what they have added to Kapora to really clarify on the parental thing. So that's really cool. No commendations, though I do have to say, a lot of the kingdoms are really active with that youth activities and family activities, and they are really working to bring these things forward within their kingdoms. So general status reports and stuff, I'm still doing meetings and stuff, but very few people have been attending them. So I've been trying to do other things to get out to the different activities and stuff. One of the things I will be doing, the Gulf Wars was great. So I had somebody that zoomed me in for the Gulf War Minister of Youth meetings and stuff. So that was really cool to see how that's set up and everything. A lot of the kingdoms, they're doing, Anstiora was putting together warranting classes for ministers of youth. Aytonville has started a families guild within the last year and stuff. They've been working on that. Outlands has a strong pages program. So does Kaid and the East. Callantyre does a lot of different activities with the kids, especially teenagers and stuff. Everybody's trying to bring in more and more teen-centric things and setting them up into ways that would interest teens to pull them in, such as using Dungeons and Dragons format to send the teens out within the camps and the wars and to bring things back and to really involve them more. The mentoring program for Penzic for the teens too is really cool. So that's great. Travel wise, I'm going to be bouncing around and hitting some wars to help out and to see more hands-on and ideas that I can put out for people. So I plan on doing the Outlands War in Colorado, Dub here in North Shield, and then also one in Atlantia in the fall, as well as Penzic. And I was going to be teaching in several of those venues. And I'm also going to be, I stepped up to be the youth coordinator for 60-year anniversary. So that's going to be fun. So I can't think of anything else. So yeah, that would be it then. And that's the end of that report.
And without objection, your report is very gratefully accepted. Thank you. This brings us to item 6C, which would be the report of the Vice President for Corporate Operations. Louise.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, I'm going to have a couple different things I'm trying to manage. So here is my report. The big news in this last quarter has been the renewal of our trademarks. The Pensic War trademark service mark is up for renewal in June. The renewal package was filed with the US Patent and Trademark Office for that on March 13th. We don't anticipate any issues with the renewal, and it will be valid for 10 years. So no worries there. The other trademark registration we have due for renewal is the SCA Shield Mark. And now I'm going to keep talking, but also share my screen like somebody who does this for a living. There we go. Yeah, that's working. It turns out that including the letters SCA within the shield design, as we have since 2020, invalidates its usage. The Laurel design has also been changed over the years. As such, our trademark attorney strongly recommended some adaptations to our current uses before the renewal is filed to ensure acceptance and defensible, strong trademark rights. So what we've got here is the mark as currently widely used. And here is the mark as registered and also as described in the trademark filing. So you can see it has no letters, and also that the shape of the laurels has changed considerably. Fun fact, as I was searching for these assets, these are actually olive branches, not laurel branches, but that's just a fun fact. So anyway, here is an updated version of the mark, and this is thanks to Jeremiah, our membership administrator, and also Katie, our marketing director, officer, deputy. And so we have worked on making an updated version of the mark that we will be rolling out very soon. Katie has put together a whole library of updated digital assets, and these have been approved by the trademark attorney. They look like they should be completely registerable, and that's what we're going to do. So that's the story. We can pursue a trademark for the shield mark with the letters included inside of it if we like. We would have to file a new application. This mark dates back in use almost 50 years. So that would be a whole new thing. Go ahead.
Would there be significant expense in registering another trademark for the first one, the one with the letters in it?
I'll have to look into that. I'm actually not aware if there would be a difference in creating a new trademark versus renewal of an existing mark. So I will find that out.
No, I think we can afford it, yeah. That's why I'm asking. I'm just making sure that we're not talking about getting rid of anything. The chef was clarifying that he, that his preference, if it's, not $1 billion, to metaphorically speaking, to register the first one, is that we register both with the trademark office.
I can absolutely look into that. We have an excellent trademark attorney who's navigating this for us, so I will follow up with her. The rest of my report is just basic reminders. Please note that as of January 1st, the official PO box for the corporate office has changed. And unfortunately, like many other national systems, the forwarding is not working as well as it did the last time around. So please update your records, send all future correspondence to PO Box 66347 in Scotts Valley. And thanks to everyone who has been working to ensure that all relevant documents and websites are updated. We will also be updating websites and documents with the new mark. And that is it. This concludes my report.
And by consensus and without objection, the first of the meetings are gratefully accepted. Next on the list would be Publications Manager. So next case, Louise, if you would.
Yes, of course. This is the report of Gloria Woodard, known in the SCA as Honor of Restermel, our Publications Manager. General status report, Tournaments Illuminated has a new editor and the next issue is in the works. I happen to know it is very much in the works. It's about to go to print, so that'll be exciting. The newsletter Quivers and Quarrels is in dire need of contributors from the archery community. If you have a willingness to generate or recruit content for the Q&Q, please reach out to the editor or the publications manager. The archivist continues to bring innovative ideas and solutions to managing the archives. Complete Anachronist continues to produce quality and interesting journals for the education and enlightenment of the SCA. Publishable Summary, the publications team continues to create newsletters, a magazine, and a scholastic journal for the benefit of the SCA participants. And if you're interested in contributing to any of these, please reach out to the appropriate editor and support SCA publications. That concludes the Publications Manager report.
And by consensus and without objection, the report of the Publications Manager is gratefully accepted. Tournaments illuminated. This would be Kendra.
That'll be me as well, as Kendra is not here. Kendra Jones, our new Tournaments Illuminated editor, known in the society as HL is Honorable Lady. Is that right? Well, it's HL
Correct.
anyway. Acronyms abound. Kendrith Philia Gerald. Joyce and I are working diligently to publish the Q1 2025 issue of TI. Our original goal was to publish the newsletter in March. However, gathering enough content for a full issue has proved to be difficult. We are now anticipating an April publication and then immediately beginning work on June. For the April issue, we currently have 6 feature articles, one of which is the start of a new column where the writer reviews cookbooks that feature pre-17th century cuisine. This first article features a bit of an interview with Max Miller of Tasting History, the YouTube series, and a review of his first cookbook. Future column articles will feature books that cover a range of cultures in the pre-17th century time frame. We also have articles on sugar paste, a travel log of the Scottish Isles of Harrison Lewis, a written proposal for event stewards to create a butler position for their feast events, and how to incorporate said position into the running of the feast, an article on ancient Egyptian manufacture of linen, and an article on the Florentine Codex, a series of books written by a friar of Spain on the life and culture of the Aztec people. We're also including a social calendar in the April issue that lists the kingdoms and their respective crown events for the months of May and June. We may continue this feature in future issues, space permitting. I'm working to gather more content, and I'm looking to expand TI's staff beyond just Mistress Gwendolyn and myself. My priorities for the staff is to create a new review panel for articles and to see if we can get some staff artists for ad hoc work. Going forward, my vision for TI is to be reflective of our SCA community and to highlight cultures and civilizations beyond just Western Europe. I am mindful that our roots are in Western Europe and that it is absolutely still going to have a place in TI, but I would like to include more if possible. Also, she's found the TI page on Facebook and has ideas of using it as a space where people can volunteer content and perhaps running some games or publishing previews. That is the report for Tournaments Illuminated.
Consensus and without objection, the report of the Tournaments Illuminated editor is gratefully accepted. Complete Anachronist.
It continues to be the me show. And I would also like to say that we're very excited to have Kendra on, and I'm really excited to have TI going back into print. And now for Complete Anachronist, editor Ellen Rawson, known in the SCA as Ariel of Lindisfarne. Let's see, 2024, Complete Anachronist 206, Renaissance Hairnets, a proposal for sprang as the method of construction. Has been published as of this writing. Now, as of this speaking, it is out. 207 will be Hanseatic Cooking Part 1, written by Volker Bach. It has been edited and sent to Sue Gilbert for layout. Unfortunately, I was unable to get it to Sue before she left on a month-long trip. It turns out the Wi-Fi there was not good enough to download everything. She will be home 2 days ago now, and we'll get to it immediately. Complete Anachronist 208 will be Hanseatic Cooking Part 2. So we should be caught up by that point. Let's see, there are a lot, as always, the Complete Anachronist report has several pages of proposals and drafts. I'll list a few of the upcoming topics just because I always find them very interesting. Ottoman cuisine, beekeeping, sumptuary laws, 16th century German clothing, and everyday medieval magic. And there is a whole nother page, and that will be included in the publishable summary. And that's all the news that's fit to print, Mr. Chair.
Questions? Then by consensus and without objection, Complete Anachronist report is accepted. Society Chronicler. I
This
have a
one-
feeling I know how this.
I know, I'm really gonna have to talk to my agent about this. Let's see, very short, as always, from the Society Chronicler, Crystal Smith, known in the Society as Mistress Cecilia Blythe, OP. Let's see, policy interpretations continues to be, this is an ongoing, working on response to those people looking for a change to requirements for baronial newsletters. No plans to change that policy at this time, but going through policies for any necessary changes. General status report, just received more Black Fox tokens from the originating artist. I should be getting certificates and tokens out in April. Publishable summary, no problems to report. Still in need of a deputy chronicler, especially one interested in taking over at the end of my warrant in a couple of years. Because our chronicler did just renew for another year. And that is the end of the chronicler report, and I'm gonna hand it off next to Travis. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Are there any questions? Then by consensus and without objections, the report of the Society Chronicler is gratefully accepted. Travis?
I want to thank Louise for covering my report last time, so she does a great work for all of us under her. I'm glad to be here to do. So here's my report. Travis Shank, the archivist known as Ramon Javier in the Society, and this is for the first quarter, and I have a requested board action. And this is a request for me taking funding approval to apply for an archival preservation grant. And so there is an available grant through the Utah State Historical Advisory Board, based here in Salt Lake. And that grant is available for up to $7,500, which we could apply for. The reason for it is because it is a I have to look at word. We buy the stuff that they pay back us. Reimbursement grant. And as such, it would require some layout of a bond receiving grant. At the time that I wrote the report, estimated that about $6,500 for this purpose would be to obtain archival materials to put the current archives in them. So currently we have them in some baker boxes and envelopes. And while the collection is stable, as we want to continue to digitize, use, and move the collection, we want to move it into archival materials, especially in the realm where copyright is going to last forever and we can't necessarily digitize everything and put it out available visible extended side. Anyway, as such, we would like to move towards that. So these grants are funded for small archives across Utah, even though the SDA is based in California as an incorporation, because the archives are just here qualified for that. And so that means we can't get the grant. I can go into greater detail about that. The question is
there any need to clarity or it's really so? I mean, to be honest, you have my attention at you know, someone will reimburse us for the stuff if we do the thing.
Yeah, so my request essentially would be to, I need to submit the grant on the 15th, but I just need approval from the board to potentially fund that should we get the grant. There's some competition.
Are there any questions from the board or officers? Then I would ask if there are any board members, since I do believe this, you know, considering the potential expense, this would require a motion. John?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize the archivist to apply for the grant as presented.
Friendly amendment.
Yeah.
And adjust our annual budget to reflect it.
The friendly amendment was, and to adjust our annual budget to reflect it. So I hope Carolyn is okay, but she's not here, so.
I am still here. And yes, I am already aware of the grant request and I'm fine with it.
Are there any, first off, is there a second? I mean, not skip past that. Second from Director Shepherd. Is there further discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. This is this type of work is something that I have a strong belief in. I will exercise an option to vote and do so in favor. That is 7 directors in favor, none opposed. Recognizing myself, Travis, I'm deeply grateful for the work that you're doing in this area to preserve our history, and especially so for the creative teams, the efforts that you found in looking at outside sources for us to be able to do so in a way that is both cost effective for us and keeping with the times, not only for the digitization, but for the archival, et cetera. I know that it's not always work that many of the membership immediately recognizes or understands. But please recognize it, or please know that it is absolutely recognized and appreciated, especially by those of us who literally, were born and grew up in this club and want to make sure that that history is preserved. Deeply grateful that you're doing the work you're doing. Thank you very much.
I'm thankful for all the support that I received from the board, the officers.
I'd like to, right quickly, to apologize for laughing in the middle of Park's very well said statement, but Megan's horse, as Bishop pointed out, Megan's horse jumping on her back was rather hilarious. And we're not laughing at it. Do we appreciate that?
Oh, I'll continue on. One of the best things that we've received in an archive is to say that things are in the same condition that they are. No major changes to that. We continue to receive requests for information, both digital and physical, and we're striving to fulfill these inquiries while supporting research in various aspects of the Society's history. Donation of newsletters, documents, and ephemera related to SCA history continue to come in, helping us to expand and preserve the collection. Recently I've been working on streamlining the archive by identifying and removing duplicate documents, which we'll begin to use for digitization efforts. And I'm focusing on the grant proposal, which was mentioned before. Reviewing the historical materials is always fascinating. We recently uncovered a bunch of doomsday reports from Sierra from the 1970s, where the seneschal sending the reports reported them entirely using Anglo-Saxon months, and nothing shorter. I learned the Anglo-Saxon months. I have them memorized, but got a good idea of telling us something is in that lot month. I probably get tired of that. So what's meant thank you to everyone for their support. As for travel, I would be attending the American Alliance of Museums annual meeting in Las Vegas, which actually has a lot of opportunities for archives as well. So I'll be doing double duty with my professional work and for the archive as well. And hopefully we'll find more ways to continue to support the archive and get answers to our questions there. And that general status is also publishable summaries.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Are there any questions regarding the report from the archivist? So I believe that was Louise who was about to ask a question.
Oh, I was just going to ask a question on behalf of the chat, but maybe that's what Pug was about to do.
No, I asked who the seneschal was, and Travis didn't know.
Got it. Okay, so I'm going to ask this on behalf of Pat Fitch in the chat. She asks, as I've been reducing my paperwork, I've been scanning and sending stuff to the archives. Perhaps this is something other members would do if asked. Is that something that's wanted by the archives?
I'm hoping to develop a process where individual groups can scan and submit things that they have to the digital archives. It's going to take a little bit of a way to kind of figure that out. So please scan them in 300 DPI if you are. Please don't send them to me yet until I figure out how to accept them and not overwhelm my digital archival deputy there. So we do appreciate anyone who's doing that, and I will work on, hopefully over the next couple of quarters, coming up with a way for people to submit things digitally. I'm also very interested in developing a way for people to submit their oral histories about the SCA. In fact, President Bao's comments on the Crown interviews are something interesting that I think we should preserve as well, even if they're distilled down to something else. I'd like the raw interviews to keep in there, all the dirty secrets or whatever. None of that. But just the real life look at how the society functions is fascinating. And also, as always, the goal with the archives is not only to preserve our history, but to make sure that we're recreating the Middle Ages and not recreating bad parts of our history.
True story. Other questions for the archivist? Then by consensus and without objection, the report of the archivist and very gratefully accepted. May I assume, sir, that this also covers the addenda of item 6C, 5A? Which is the USHRAD archival preservation grant?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Item 6D4. The report of the Society Exchequer.
Exchequer's report for the first quarter of 2025. Requested board actions. I would ask that you approve the Kingdom of Atlantia financial policy and PayPal addendum as previously submitted and discussed.
There is a request for action from the Society Exchequer for the benefit of the audience and the audience attending virtually. The financial policy of the Kingdom of Atlantia was distributed to the board members earlier, and we've all reviewed it ahead of time. Yes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the Kingdom of Atlantia financial policy as presented by the Society.
There is a motion from Speedy and a second from Director Bainter.
Saying Atlantia's doing all the cool stuff this meeting.
Well, that's true. Further discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Directors opposed? And that is 6 directors in favor and none opposed. That motion carries. And the financial policy for the Kingdom of Atlantia is approved as presented.
Additional action was already handled previously to this meeting by, we had requested that warrants previously sent to the assistant were presented to the board and signed for my immediate deputies for non-member registration, PayPal, as well as the Pensive Corps deputy. Those have been completed and returned to both myself and to the deputies indicated.
Really did one for action.
We did one of the actions.
Yeah.
We didn't present the PayPal.
I did.
Oh, sure did.
Yeah,
So I need to do a second question.
because I
Two
did.
separate things.
So, the PayPal addendum.
PayPal addendum needs to be.
So get on the ball there, Speedy.
Hey, Lindsay, what? I move that we accept the Atlantean PayPal addendum to their financial policy as presented.
There's a motion from Director Capps and a second from Director Foster. Is there further discussion on this motion? Being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Directors opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries.
Policy interpretations. Very narrow interpretation. Monies may be spent with the approval of the financial committee of for emergency lodging for attendees in an event if available for all members of the group. This was a very narrow interpretation regarding the ability for the royalty of a kingdom to provide from their own travel fund for their populace due to the fact that impending weather was a safety concern. This was but a very narrow interpretation.
There is a presented policy interpretation from the Society Exchequer. I will recognize myself. For context, there was some fairly serious inclement weather coming through Gulf waters. In some discussion regarding this policy interpretation, there was some clarification that the request from the kingdom in question was with regard to the Crown's travel fund. There's some concern that the policy interpretation as presented is not quite as specific as that, which I had personally have some concerns with. There are some other concerns that are raised surrounding the policy interpretation, not in its intent or even perhaps as its outcome, but in concern with the potential for the loss of unintended consequence. to my knowledge, to my recollection, and I do get hit in the head quite a bit on occasion, but I don't know that we reached a conclusion per se, but I do know that we were not immediately all on the same page with this when we were talking about it in session yesterday. I've stopped recognizing myself, and the floor is open for other directors. Jeff?
So, as it was originally presented, it wasn't clear that this was just from the travel fund for the town's travel fund. The concern is, we understand that people travel a long way, and that being in a lot of some tornadoes is a concern and a difficulty. But when it was presented originally, it was just could pay for lodging for its attending populace due to safety reasons, open-ended, and it's just unreasonable, for us to accept that on its face while the protection of our membership and our attendees is a high priority. We can't take responsibility for paying for lodging for an entire kingdom. And I get that this was an on-tier issue where they had a fairly small populace all the way across the country, but for the interpretation is, it's a bit open-ended in that it says that they can do it for everyone. That means that interpretation in and of itself means that every kingdom there could do that for everyone, and us paying for lodging for 3,700 people is just unreasonable. Because when you say it has to be open to everyone, that means every kingdom there has to have that option. Now, in reality, the situation was wanting to use their travel fund to take care of their people, which is commendable to no end, and reducing that to that outlook, that scope, what a crown decides to do to forego its own
for their own benefit,
their own benefit, for to change it to the benefit. Change it to the benefit. We just have to be careful when it comes to a situation where we're opening the scope up to everyone, because if for example Meridian decided to do that, then you have 750 people that can easily wipe out the kingdom's funds, even in the best intents. And as a corporation, we just can't. We can't take that. And there's no malice. Nobody did anything wrong. Yes, nobody did anything wrong. But that's the narrowing of that. And even though we applaud the Crown of Montier for that, it's still something that you're aware of in your action with crowns later on and consider.
I'm going to put it to the directors that, well, let me back up and expound on what you said. First off, again, no issue with the crown. I have no issue with the outcomes or the immediate effect of what happened with the exchequer, given the circumstances, in reviewing the policy interpretation for its long-term effect and the circumstances, which is what our job is, et cetera. That's where I have heard the concern and whatnot. Given the circumstances, given the potential for unintended consequences, I'm uncomfortable with approving it as presented. However, I also don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, forwardly speaking. And if the other directors are of like mind, my inclination is to return it for further work to see if there's a possibility to tighten up the language or otherwise put guardrails on this in such a way that it preserves the intent while keeping very tight guardrails on this such that it does not endanger or otherwise risk the financial health of any of our constituent groups. And informally, we're not voting or anything, but I would ask the other directors if what they think about that approach. Well, Joan?
I agree with your approach. I believe we need to tighten up the language and put limits and guardrails on the motion that in case we ever come across a situation with it.
I can tell you it will happen again, since I've been at a golf course before where I'm holding on to the tent so it doesn't fly away.
It will amend and revise the language and then resubmit.
I mean, I will have to still formally do that part, but I still want to make sure all the directors are on board. I see thumbs up from John. It looks like Megan, you're in, now come to the official part. By consensus, I think, can I do that? Can I do this by consensus? Yes. And by consensus and without objection, we will return this policy interpretation for further work to the Society Exchequer, so that it may be presented in the future.
Good, moving on.
Please.
Okay. New policies, this is not quite new, due to the fact that we have now created a SharePoint for the Kingdom Exchequers and Society level deputies. Instead of the exchequers simply emailing their reports to me so that I can do something with them, they are now being asked to put them into the SharePoint drive themselves because they have access to that. So it's just an update for them.
For clarity,
Yes.
does this replace the need to email them or in addition to?
I do not want to them to do so. I want them to put them where they are supposed to be and where they should live. Accommodations were already addressed during the slideshow.
Do we have to?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We have to bring that policy.
Yeah,
I should call it the purview.
I think it is within the purview. I mean, by consensus, we can take that. No, well, it's not a policy interpretation, no, it is a new policy, yeah. Yeah, we do have to, we do have to.
That actually showed that there is an existing policy. It's the process.
Well, I mean,
Policy.
for reference then, probably don't want to put that in the new policy section. Normally, if it's a new policy, we have to vote on it. What you're really doing is bringing to our attention any change in the operating procedure for your office.
With clarification.
I take credit for that, but I've got Leslie sitting next to me.
Yeah, current policy only says that reports have to be submitted. This is just a process.
Yeah, please continue.
Publishable summary, 2023 audit that's a mistake there. The 2023 audit is ongoing as we continue to attempt to balance reports from several groups and or kingdoms that came from Carolyn as well. 2024 financial report cycle is well underway with many kingdoms reporting on time or requesting extensions, so we have at least heard from them. NMR reporting and invoicing continues to work efficiently and effectively with the collaborative efforts of James Baker, the Exchequer NMR deputy, and Louise. The special project team is making good progress on updating and revising policies, procedures, forms, and reports associated with the Exchequer office at all levels. And a SharePoint space and Microsoft Teams has been created for society kingdom level exchequers to allow for efficient reporting and as a document repository. Additional work is ongoing to make the space user friendly. My travel coming up includes, of course, this meeting, Ethelmark War Practice, Kings Road in Montana, and Pens of War, in addition to any local events that I make. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or requests for clarification from the Society Exchequer? And by consensus and without objection, the report of the Society Exchequer is gratefully accepted. It is 3:05 local time. We will take another short recess of 10 minutes. Thank you all very much. We are back. We are now to item 6F, the report of the Society Marshal.
So I'm gonna say ecstatic that we have a new marshal jury. So really excited about this. And we'll start off with two board actions that were submitted. The first one was to approve and update the Locock combat archery variants. They have for many years used Arab ones for their combat archery on the field. And they were using version 2 of this one, and they come out with version 3, and so they just wanted to update the variants to reflect the new block that was available to them. But it's also just included in there, not just that description, but how we kill clinical participants procedures. They've better clarified the procedures since the previous time that this variance was submitted. So it's just an update to an existing variance. So I request that the board approve this variance for a look at.
Mr. Chairman, I move we uphold the variance granted to the Kingdom of Loch Salann by the Society Marshal for the combat archery.
There's a motion from Director Stoyer. Is there a second? There is from Director Scott. Is there a discussion on this motion? We can also discuss it now. How to do about it, sorry, but yes. Is there a discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Director opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries.
For the second match, I'm actually going to turn that over to my Deputy Society Marshal for under combat.
Mr. Chairman, the Marshal's Office, as you know, has been rewriting all of the handbooks for the different martial activities. We presented the board with a copy of the updated handbook for armored combat battalion, and we feel that it is a large enough chunk, and getting into it in a timely manner during this quarterly meeting would be possible. We're requesting that we schedule an individual meeting to go over the new handbook ad nauseum.
I believe what I had just heard you ask for is a single purpose. Board of Directors
Yes,
to cover to cover the rewrite of the armored combat marshal's manual.
Yes, sir.
Our marshal's handbook. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. We can do that by consensus. By consensus and without objection, the board accepts the request and directs you to work with the appropriate officers to get that scheduled.
Thank you.
Color commentary.
Yes.
I would thank you guys for the work you've done with the new format and the method in which you're tackling this project. It is a massive project. It will be for the benefit of the martial community in the long term. In the short term, it's frustrating, I know, and glad you guys keep hacking away. Thank you.
We're very excited that people are waiting with bated breath. There were 2 policy interpretations, and we could go right and have those approved. The first policy interpretation was for youth combat. Question about whether or not a youth marshal was required to be present if a youth is fighting in adult combat. So 16-year-olds and up can fight in rattan, and 14 years and up can fight in ranger as adults. And so the question was, is there need to be a youth marshal because we have people fighting under 18? It was determined that since they were competing as adults under the armored combat rattan or ranger rules, no youth marshal was required. Only youth marshals are required for youth combat.
Director Shep.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the youth combat variance as requested. Policy interpretation as requested by the Society Marshal.
Say a motion from Director Shepherd. Is there a second? Second from Director Foster. Is there further discussion on this motion?
Yes.
But
I don't know that this is really a policy interpretation, but a reiteration of what the policy already is. That's been the case for a very long time. It does come up from time to time because we have new people all the time. But I'm glad to see that people are bringing these issues up, and I'm glad our miners are fighting with everyone else. More so these days. Thank you.
well, then I'll ask for by way of clarification. Then is a policy interpretation necessary?
Oh, to me.
That's.
Do you feel that
I believe it's an interpretation because it's not clearly stated that the youth, currently the youth combat martial handle says that you have to have a martial if youth are fighting minors or fighting, so I can see where the confusion came.
between the adult martial handbook and the youth martial handbook?
Right, there, we need to just put in the combat martial. Yeah, you need to put in the martial. These are separate things and you don't have to have the martials in other things.
Thank you for that, Clark. So, little cart before the horse.
Mhm.
I know we're on a rewrite for all of the rules.
Yeah.
This is the one that's fixed in the youth combat handbook, so that this doesn't have to come up when you're not the society or marshal anymore.
We'll look at this next.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The motion is still active on the floor. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns, or discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Directors opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries. Policy interpretation is ratified. That's the wrong word, but approved, whatever. Upheld. I get there eventually.
The second one, this might not be an interpretation, but whenever we make rulings like this, we try to get it documented. For Armored Combat Rattan, there was a new hammerhead by My Hand Designs. And we have ruled it not to be legal without a half-inch progressive geared foam on both sides of the striking surfaces. It's a new hammerhead with hard rubber on the studs.
Just to make sure I'm looking at the same thing and apples to apples. You're referring to policy interpretations B, yes?
Yes.
And for clarity, you're making a policy interpretation that a specific product from a specific vendor.
If I can address this.
Yeah, because I'm hoping you already see it, but I'm comfortable with that.
So it's within the current rattan handbook.
Yeah.
Specifically designate ultra lightweight foam heads as not needing any additional padding.
Okay.
This particular weapon head is formed from ultra lightweight foam with the addition of a heavy rubber outside. And just to clarify for the participants that it is a different weapon style because of the extra addition, we determined that it needed to be brought up, that it needs the extra protection.
Okay.
It just happens that it's a single merchant that is fairly well known.
A couple of questions. I think I am correct in my reading of this and looking at the pictures, etc., that the construction of this head is not solely ultralight foam.
Correct.
That it has been altered, and that the basis upon which the head is objectionable and doesn't meet a rule is not because it is this thing from that vendor, but because the head has been altered. And it's not solely constructed of ultra. So I think the policy interpretation you probably want to make is that if the head is not solely constructed of ultra light, whatever, then it doesn't meet our rules, because vendor-based policy interpretations are terrible.
That's a good point. I will make that evidence to the report and.
Because I really am not comfortable with making a vendor-based policy interpretation. I'm happy to return it for further work for say 10 minutes if you want to do that. But I would not vote for this myself. I am one of 7, but I mean, I'll wait 2 minutes if you want to do it right now.
Sure. We have the policy interpretation that ultra, let's see, weapons not solely made of ultralight, but weapon heads. Thank you. Heads. Not so.
Right.
You write it, and then we'll come back to it.
I'm going to predict that William might write something to the effect that, that have not been altered to reduce their characteristics or something like that. In other words, unaltered. Yeah,
Well, while I'm going through the report, he'll write it, we'll come back to it.
perfect, please.
All right, I did want to, I don't normally do commendations, but I did actually want to do one commendation. I just want to greatly thank the many people who have helped with the ongoing rules modernization project. In particular, at the heart of the rules committee, which is Angel DeSavany, William Hawk Buckingham, and David McLaughlin, for their steadfast work on this project, which has encompassed weekly meetings spanning over a year with hundreds and thousands of hours actually working together and individually. Without them and their unwavering dedication and their crazy love of discussing rules, this project would have not made it this far. And also thanks to our latest recruits, David Kennard McLean of Haid, and John DePercy, who is the Society Deputy Marshal for Armored Combat, who helped get the Armored Combat Rattan online book over the finish line so we could get it to the board. Well, we have more handbooks to complete. I will be thanking those subcommittees in separate notices when we complete each one. Dozens of people helping with this across the society. It's been a labor of love.
And I will echo the comments that Shep made earlier in that it is very clear from what you have presented to us that hundreds of hours have gone into the updates, or really the rewrite, I can't call it updates, to the manual, not only the hours, but also the dedication and the attention and the dedication to ensuring that our membership and the fighting community of our kingdom have the best possible rule set in order to make the game safe, understandable, and fun, which is, above all, some of the most important aspects of what we're doing as officers. That is not lost on any of us. Very much appreciated and is worthy of note. So thank you all very much for that. Did I stall long enough for William to finish?
We have something. So the policy interpretation proposal is ultralight foam heads that have been significantly modified in a way that changes the striking characteristics must be padded with half inch of progressive foam, progressive give on all striking.
That I have no, I mean, we approved that. Yep. I don't have the wording she just said. Could you send that to Leslie, please?
I can't.
Okay. Yeah, that I have no objection to. Is anyone, did you just move to make, I moved that we accept the policy interpretation as presented as a second, as amended by the society or Marshall and her deputy. Is there a second? Second from Director Painter. That's a motion by Shep. A second by Director Painter, who should be sending you the text in the chat.
I'll get that to you. 40 seconds.
Pardon, that's why we transfer the word salad.
So some
We still have to vote on that.
Oh, sorry, we did. I thought we did.
No, well, I'm going to make sure she has the text.
It's ready for it to become okay.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the motion on the floor? In that case, when voting, directors in favor, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand. If directors opposed, that is 6 directors in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries.
The next section is, I just want to go over some highlights of the new things happening around in the martial community. We do have one martial office change. Eldemir, Viscountess Elizabeth Mortimer, will be stepping up to be the Kingdom Earl Marshal, and many thanks to Bran Thorwaldson, the outgoing. Around the Kingdom, Gulf Wars Rapier utilized a new incident marshal, which was a huge success. So they had a senior, well-experienced marshals whose entire job was that if an incident happened, their job was to go work that out, talk to all the people, get it resolved, and document it. So this allowed issues to be dealt with immediately and consistently by that trusted, experienced marshal. It ensured proper documentation, and it didn't impact the ongoing fighting scenario. You didn't have to stop and have all the marshals stop and discuss this. They could have them take care of it while the fighting continued. So that was an incredible success. The West is updating their standards to meet the current rule set and have submitted that to the Armored Combat Marshal for review. Outlands held a 2-day arrow making class. That was a lot of fun. Brought folks from several of the surrounding groups, loads of arrows were made, and now we have multiple folks able to make their own arrows. Drachenwald, Austria is Drachenwald in Austria is connected to the umbrella organization of medieval armed education in Austria. And they're working on gathering all related disciplines of a recognized physical activity or sport like any other. This can in turn turn out to be both positive in getting mutual understanding as well as support and broadening our contact with other like-minded groups and individuals in those countries. And Drachenwald is incredibly active this quarter. They
kicked off their rapier year. They have a fencing camp in the Shire of Gillingham. And the Rattown community also did their spring kickoff with the Meadowmark Boot Camp. And they do this every spring. That brings all the fighters together. They gather the big dinner, restaurant, and they started this a few years ago. And now it's a full-blown weekend with visitors from all over Europe. That's how they start their fighting season. The first camp. Each of the kingdoms are doing multiple process improvements and training. The middle is developing videos and proper authorization processes across all the disciplines. And they're finding a way to track participation among archery and thrown weapons. And have run classes on how to run this table. Lotok, the Kingdom Kyrgyzstan, is leading workshops to educate combat communities on concussion recognition. The East is currently in the process of reviewing their entire martial structure and solving many distributing issues and working to digitize all that. Palantir has developed a continuing education program. So if you're a marshal, you have to go through continuing education to keep your marshalate. And then we talked about the modernization effort that was already underway. I'm not going to go over each of the disciplines, but in general, martial activities are continuing to increase across all disciplines. Harness Fecton, our new experimental program, is growing rapidly with highly successful practices and the tournament at Gulf Wars. Thrown weapons continues to grow and be immensely popular even during winter. And communication between the kingdoms and society is continuing to increase and is fostering good conversations across the disciplines. Gulf Wars in particular this year was quite successful with fewer injuries, tempers were kept under control, fun held by all. I give a shout out to the seasonal sheet winners this year. The overall winner was Chris Lestrange in crossbow from Atlantia. The period handbow was Brennis Abdulin from Haiti. Open handbow was again Chris Lestrange from Atlantia, who also won period crossbow. And open crossbow was won by Helson of Archer. And the youth was Lilia Keys Byron from Haiti. So congratulations to those winners. For the experimental programs, I already talked about Harness Fecton. The Reduced Armor Rapier Torso Only program is continuing to collect vast amounts of data. We have over 1,300 participants with 411 reports collected this last quarter. So we're going to keep collecting data for another quarter or so, and then we're going to analyze all the data and come to a recommendation. So we wanted to spend another year collecting data on just that particular part of the experimental program. I don't have any major changes to the other experimental programs. And so I know I'm between us and dinner. Right, we'll wrap that up.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Go.
Yeah, I do request clarification and more detail on the reported injuries, equipment failures, incident section as we discussed yesterday.
Yes, when I went back over the report, I realized I failed to say that the investigation was still ongoing. It wasn't meant to be a conclusive note that I put in there under the injury. So we are still investigating that particular incident, and a full report with pictures and statements and our conclusions will be presented further down. Thank you.
Other questions for the Society or Marshal? Then by consensus and without objection, the report of the Society or Marshal together with the associated addenda are gratefully accepted. We will move to item 6G, report of the Society Minister of Arts and Sciences. I believe Sarah is not in attendance, is that correct?
It's my understanding.
The ombudsman for ANS, if they would take that then.
I believe they requested the president read it.
This is the report from Sarah Noble PhD, SCA name Magnifica Hildegard Bergerant, Order of Laurel. This report is as is presented by her. During the first quarter of 2025, kingdoms enjoyed successful universities, collegia, arts and sciences championships, competitions, displays, and smaller local events, including ANS themed events and display opportunities. Eatonbelt reported a wide variety of successful and well-attended ANS activities at Warwick Phoenix. Kingdoms have been looking at planning and preparing for upcoming. Plans are already in progress for 2025 ANS events and activities, including plans for Gulf Wars, Penzig, and North of the Week. The Kingdom Ministers of Arts and Sciences from the Gulf Wars Treaty Kingdoms are continuing to actively work together to communicate ideas, improvements, and expectations. Similar collaboration is happening for Vincent. A continuing development within the ANS community is very positive. The increase in non-judge interactive display and documentation opportunities. These are providing a much more positive, happy, and nurturing experience for the many active artisans who are hesitant to enter judge competitions. The Society of Creative Anachronism continues to fulfill its mission to research and recreate the art, sciences, and ideas of the pre-17th century world. The first quarter has seen well-attended in-person events, activities, including events such as Board of Phoenix and Eatonville, with a full schedule of classes, a demo area, competitions, displays, workshops, and Kingdom 12 Night Arts and Sciences activities. Several kingdoms successfully held general ANS championships. Subjects to specific championship competitions, including dance, barding, baking, brewing, poetry, were also held. Several additional kingdom and local competitions and displays were held. Universities and collegiate continue to be hosted by various kingdoms throughout the year. There is an increased activity and interest among guilds, including agriculture, foresters, builders, herbal, and cooks guilds. Successful in-person, hybrid, and virtual ANS activities include universities and classes have continued. Kingdom and local officers successfully continue to update the ways in which we arts and sciences activities, including training judges, updating judging rubrics, collaborating with other kingdoms regarding ANS expectations at comprehensive, verbal documentation, non-judge displays, and interactive display opportunities. The Kingdom of Ontario is even trying out a QR-based electronic judging and feedback system. The arts and sciences populace in general continues to be enjoying and benefiting from increased opportunities for display and discussion in a non-competitive format. The Society Minister of Arts and Sciences has a Facebook presence. This page allows members to receive information about arts and sciences activities throughout the known world. We encourage them to share their own projects, promote local artisans, and connect with others who share their interests. Recently, the populace was invited to focus on sharing ANS project goals and dreams for 2025. Next, we will enjoy focusing on various forms of pop culture display. As the society officer, I continue outreach through the kingdom officers to help encourage and support officers from kingdom level through the branch officers. And then there's addendum, preparation and formatting of the Society Minister of Arts and Sciences Handbook and SOP are ongoing. And that concludes the report. Sarah.
Excellent. Thank you, Val. Are there any questions regarding the report for Val? In that case, by consensus and without objection, the report of the Society Minister of Arts and Sciences is greatly accepted. The report of the Society Chatelaine.
Okay, sorry. This is the report for first quarter for the Society Chatelaine of 2025. I have no board actions, no interpretations, no new rules. I do want to give a quick shout out to our Society Seneschal, who's been helping me get all the kingdom laws updated so that the kingdoms are recognizing the Chatelaine as a greater office. And I've started to get warrants coming in and getting them signed off and back to where they need to be. Overall, things are going really well. The Kingdom of Eatonville is going to host the second annual Known World Newcomer Symposium. Lady Victoria of Eatonville is going to head that off and has been working with the web minister to get their website going. We held a newcomers outreach virtually with in conjunction with a call on Zoom with Meridies in January. It went really well. We had about 50 attendees that were newcomers and did a lot of Q&A. We did a Chatelaines meetup at War of the Phoenix, where I spent about 2 hours with all Chatelaines in attendance that were willing to attend the meeting and discuss some policies, things that we were going to try to do better. It's become very aware to me that communication is a point where a lot of the Kingdom Chatelaines and local group officers are feeling that we need to improve. So I've started doing that through email and gonna start hosting meetings next quarter. I'm going to do another virtual newcomers outreach with the Kingdom of Loch and one with Drachenwald in the next 2 quarters. And we are going to do a post Lily's War and Kingdom of Galantir. After the war is over, we're going to host a session with newcomers to see what their thoughts were about their first war, because I think that's valuable information for us to have. And then we're going to transition from doing a focus group to more of a voluntary survey group to gain information on what newcomers are enjoying, why are we losing some if we do lose them, things of that nature, while we are also working together on the new Shadowlands handbook that is in process. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions? In that case, by consensus and without objection, the report of the Society of Chatelaine is gratefully accepted. We are going to return to item 6A1A, the report of the Society Web Minister. By consensus and without objection, we had previously remanded this to the I'll have to figure out exactly what the appropriate hoops to jump through are to undo what was that. So by consensus and without objection, I'd like to proceed with that report now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize to everyone. I had a little bit of an inconvenience that had called me away, and now I'm back. So I'm going to proceed with my report. Sorry, my camera is not on. I look a mess right now. That being said, this follows my first quarter report for 2025 to the Board of Directors regarding the activities of the Web Ministry for the board's April 2025 meeting. I have no requested board actions. I had originally listed as no policy interpretations, but I had asked at the beginning of the meeting if I could bring something forward and amend my report at a later time. The simple policy interpretation was moving forward, Web Ministries may use a simple email form from people to utilize works of art or on their websites if they don't have one of the release forms. We prefer them to fill out the release form, but as long as they have an email that is written and documented, it's following what they are currently using relaxed for social media policies. So that is the policy interpretation I gave to web ministers that were asking about that during this quarter. New policies. The Web Minister's Office has encountered some issues during my tenure that revolve around definitions of official versus unofficial versus authoritative websites, as well as wiki usage throughout the known world. I have solicited volunteers from the Web Ministry to assist me in writing a policy handbook for use. The Web Minister handbook mentions wikis, but does not expound upon them sufficiently. I have attached drafts of those new policies for review and commentary by members of the board and other officers. And I hope to finalize these before my term of office is complete in June. I have commendations for this report. The following commendations listed: Matthew Simon Ryan Cavaletto, or known as Mathwin Uradran, in the East Kingdom for their assistance with organizing the policy document work group and their constant vigilance in helping my office and the East Kingdom Web Minister's office throughout these last 3 years. Perry Nelson Sukert, Amelie Reinhardt from the Kingdom of Ethelmark, for their dedication to the Kingdom of Ethelmark's web presence. They had been the web minister for the kingdom before I stepped into this role, and then she served a second term at the request of their kingdom after a very short break. They are finally able to step down, I believe, at the end of this month, just before the end of my term. It has been a pleasure to work with her. David Cortillo, also known as David Vasquez de Valencia from the East Kingdom, for their assistance to the Society IT department and the Kingdom of Meridias during my time as Kingdom Web Minister, and providing their measured voice and experience to the Society Web Minister's office during my tenure. General status report. We have 11 kingdoms reporting and 9 non-reporting kingdoms. The Vice President of IT are currently in the process of interviewing replacements for my position, and hope to have them on board by June. Kingdoms have been working through some tight deadlines for the last few months, and with two major wars, War of the Phoenix and Gulf Wars, people have been working hard to maintain a good SCA work-life balance. I remind the volunteers in our web ministry that they are appreciated for the jobs they do as often as I can. The web minister for Ethelmark is stepping down after a repeat term as web minister. And the publishable summary is 2025 is beginning with a slow but steady start. Kingdoms are working diligently to update websites and train volunteers. My penultimate report is slightly light, with some exception to the commendations in my report, many more to come in my next and final report to the board of directors. I have submitted one policy document and one specialized handbook for review. These were produced with the help of a committee of 5 volunteers and feedback from people within the web ministry. Once the documents have been reviewed and finalized for publication, a list of all those involved will be announced for credit. Thus ends my report for the first quarter. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. I have a couple of quick questions. Well,
Fire
let
away.
me handle the needs first. The new policies, in your report, and I think from, as you read through it, those are listed as draft policies.
They are at the moment, yes.
So would I be correct in saying that if they were included in your report for the information of the board, but are not yet being presented for the approval of the board?
That is correct. I would like some feedback in advance from the board and from other officers to review them, because I know that there are officers within the society that are at the society level that are working on projects that may or may not involve the use of Wikipedia, as well as other projects, basically looking at official sites and how we're defining them. So that way we are just being very clear in our communications from the highest level that we're at all the way down to the lowest level of the local groups, that communication and how it is communicated, the messages that are communicated are consistent. They are available for review. If for whatever reason they're not showing, because I was told that some of the things weren't showing, I guess, in SharePoint, I can make sure that they are re-uploaded for everyone to look at, and I will definitely be willing to share those with all the other society officers for them to look through and provide some feedback. But I've had a great group of folks that volunteered to do this, and they've done a lot of legwork for me. I've reviewed and added some of my own, and we've had some good back and forth on this, because we were trying to just, as I said, be as clear as possible in any communication that comes from this office.
Sure that this was not something that you were looking for up to include today. No. Just making sure. Second question. You mentioned a policy interpretation that you have made. Is that correct?
Yes, I did make a policy interpretation based on questions. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Can you provide the text of that policy interpretation to the oh, he did in the chat. Thank you. So pause there, Nick. We're looking at your policy interpretation now, and if we will either need to uphold, return, or otherwise return. So pause just a moment. I'm reading. So given the nature of the release form, that this would be that this policy interpretation would allow email to be used in lieu of. I mean, did you have a chance to run this past Val or before you made the policy interpretation? I only ask because I want to make sure that whatever the important parts of the release form, whatever the important points on the release form are, would be addressed in the email.
I did not run it across anyone else. I had looked at what was being used currently based on communications in email between communications/social media with one of the web ministers, and they asked me, hey, if this is the situation with social media policy allowing for simple written email communication that has a confirmation from the individual wishing to share something, then can we not have the same leeway for use of these items on web pages and such for like maybe event sites, things like that? And I said to them, I said, as long as you are following those policies that are being acceptable from a society level within the communications office, because we're all in that same kind of umbrella, even though we operate technically separately, social media and web work in tandem. And I preach that, and I know that Bridget has preached that to her people as well. So I felt like that was a valid interpretation. So if it's not something that we should be doing, I can certainly pass it along. I know that there's some of them that are watching the stream today that were concerned about this policy interpretation, because we had a conversation about it the last time I met with all of them, and they were hopeful that this was going to make things a little bit easier on them than to have to try and track someone down to fill out a release form for something simple. And so I said, you know, ultimately we have the release forms for a reason. So we prefer them, but if we're doing this as a relaxed version for one office, then it should stand to reason that we should be able to do it for other offices as well.
Yeah, there's no question. By all means,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the Society of Webmasters uphold. Thank you. Uphold the Society of Webmasters policy interpretation as presented.
Oh, I'm very excited about this policy.
I think there was a second.
Point of clarification,
Yeah,
because of the order things appear in the minutes.
yeah.
Should we resume consideration of the report before doing that? The wording.
That's the thing that I, you know,
Okay, you found the correct words.
by consensus and without objection, we did that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I think your third becomes a second.
Oh, okay.
I mean, unless you want a third,
No.
find a second.
Oh.
Good check. So that is a motion from Director Shepherd, a second from Director Stoyer. Is there further discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Director, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Directors opposed? That is 6 directors in favor, none opposed. That motion carries, and the policy interpretation is upheld. Yeah, upheld. Okay. All right, and with that, we have gotten through the main portion of our agenda. I will direct the question to the officers and directors. Does everybody need a break before we go through the executive session part of the agenda? Then let us, march on, as it were.
So, and you accepted all correspondence as appropriate?
We do, by consensus and without objection. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, these are your minutes from your executive session, which was opened on Friday, April 11th, 2025, at 5:03 p.m. Mountain Time, and convened at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Presidential confidential updates. The report of the president was accepted as presented. Society Seneschal confidential updates. Report of the Society Seneschal was accepted as presented by consensus. The Society Seneschal was directed to begin an investigation into a confidential matter.
Item C, Aidan O'Connor, Avar Rattleson. Motion by Jonathan Foster to revoke the membership of and deny participation to Aidan O'Connor, Ivar Rattleson, effective immediately. Second by Pug Bainter. Opposed, none. Motion carried. Item B, Randolfo Pozos Brewer, Constantinius Putiolanis Germanicus. Apologies. Motion by KT Shepherd to lift the temporary removal from participation in the society of Randolfo Pozos Brewer, Constantinus Putiolanis Germanicus, effective immediately. Second by Pug Bainter. In favor, Pug Bainter, Krista Capps, Jonathan Foster, KT Shepherd, Joan Stoyer. Opposed, none. Abstained, Megan O'Shea. Motion carried. Item E, Michael Rodriguez, Penny the Wizard / All Og Amun Amarth. Motion by KT Shepherd to revoke the membership of and deny participation to Michael Rodriguez, Penny the Wizard, All Og Amun Amarth, effective immediately. Second by Megan O'Shea. Opposed, none. Motion carried. Warrant position update, Society Web Minister. This is item F. By consensus, no action was taken. Item G, annual audit honorarium. Motion by KT Shepherd to approve a one-time honorarium of $500 payable to Aaron Potter Tian for work done on the annual audit. Second by Jonathan Foster. Surprise, right? Opposed, none. Motion carried. Item H, legal updates. The report of the president was accepted as presented. Item I, April 12, 2025 subsidiaries, actions by verbal consent. All actions for the subsidiaries of the Society for Creative Anachronism, Inc. are accepted by consensus. Item J, director resignations. By consensus, the board acknowledges, regretfully, the resignation of Puck Bainter from CE for the board of directors for the Society for Creative Anachronism, effective at the close of the April 12, 2025 quarterly meeting. Director appointments. By consensus, Kate Core is recognized as assuming CTE for the director for the board of directors for the Society for Creative Anachronism, effective at the close of the April 12, 2025 quarterly meeting. Item L, chair assignment. By consensus, no action was taken. Item M, vice chair assignment. By consensus, no action was taken. Item N, ombudsman assignments. Director Mark Falcon, Duke Martin Lochner. Ombudsman 4, President, Society Central, Corporate Office, Executive Assistant, and Financial Officers. Vice Chair, KT Shepherd, Rolf Ulrich von Brandenburg. Ombudsman 4, Antir, Kaid, West, Marshall, and Artemisia. Director Krista Counts, Britta Galeri, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ombudsman 4, Aidenfeld, Atlantia, Middle, Recruiting, and Marines. Director Jonathan Foster, Johannes Glenn Padas. Yes, I got one right. Ombudsman 4, Chatelaine, Information Technology, Webminister and Webmaster, Calentier, and Outlet. Director Kate Core. Ekaterina Kotna, Holopova.
Yeah.
Close it out.
Close it out.
Okay. Ombudsman for Inclusive Programs, Heralds, Faithful Mark, Glenavon, and Trimaris. Director Megan O'Shea. Oh boy.
Maya Algazai.
Maya Algazai. Okay, I was gonna actually be pretty close on that one. Ombudsman for ANS, Onstiora, North Shield Publications, TI, CI, CA, and Chronicler, and the East Kingdom. Director Joan Stoyer, Rhianwen Ron Griffin.
Very good. Very good.
I appreciate you guys are all being very nice. I feel like I'm having my head patted. But that's okay, I'll take it.
So we do that with Dukes.
Yeah. Because our egos are very fragile. Ombudsman 4, Avakal, Drakenball, Eldemir, and Loka. Item S, warrant expirations. The following upcoming warrant expirations were noted and returned to the appropriate officers for further work. Number 1, Web Minister, April 30, 2025. Exchequer ER Deputy, September 30, 2025. Society Central ER Deputy, October 31, 2025.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can, do you mind requesting out loud if someone needs interpretation? So that I can sign that behind you and it can be seen because we're not getting a response in the chat.
I will happily do so. Make sure I'm not, standing in the way for people to see. Before we get to that part, which I think you're here for, there is a remaining point of business. We have to actually close the meeting before we get to that part. Joe?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn the April quarterly meeting of the SCA Board of Directors as of 4:10 PM Mountain Daylight Time on April 12th, 2025.
That is a motion from Director Stoyer. Is there a second? I'll second it. I'm gonna give that to
I want to thank everyone for the time I've had on the board, everyone I've dealt with over the 3.5 years. It is definitely a rewarding position. It is difficult. It is enlightening. You certainly see parts of the SCA that you couldn't otherwise, because you're dealing with all the kingdoms around the known world. And all the personalities that come with that. It helps you to grow significantly in this position. And I encourage others who are interested to do. That said, we have a vote. We have a motion and a second. We have a
Point of discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I have 109, 178 days left. Or ish. And you're the only one left when I came on. I don't know if you know this or not. Very quietly, you were a mentor. I wanted to get you a personal thank you for all that you've done for the society and for me. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. I'm glad I helped. So are we ready to vote now?
Do.
On the motion to adjourn the meeting, all those in favor? Thank you. Wait. It's at the end of the meeting. That's right. Thank you all. Any opposed? I will take this opportunity to exercise my right to vote. You vote in favor. And that ends this meeting for the board of directors.